Chapter 11:12. Inside the black market auction venue. Yu Zhongshe. How can a black bear with a normal bloodline compare to an iron-winged eagle that contains the bloodline of the golden-winged rock? Faced with Yu Haoran's second reason for giving up on the iron-winged eagle egg, the little old man didn't seem to notice his strange behavior and suggested even more enthusiastically, "You can totally hire someone else to slaughter that black bear and erase the traces of your contract with the black bear. Then sign a new pet beast contract with the iron-winged eagle." After hearing the other party's suggestion, the fake smile on Yu Haoran's face was immediately replaced by anger. Through the space of cloud and mist, he looked coldly at the little old man and reminded him with a chilling tone, "I hope Senior won't make this kind of joke. Otherwise, don't blame this Junior for falling out with you." To him, the black bear wasn't a pet beast at all, but a family member whom he could trust. Otherwise, with the black bear's potential and future achievements, how could it possibly become his pet beast? Moreover, the real reason why he used the temptation of pills to annihilate the Yang family in the central region was because Yang Shouzhuang had severely injured the black bear. Now, the other party actually wanted him to kill the black bear that was like a brother to him. While this infuriated him, it also completely extinguished any thoughts of probing further into the other party's intentions. Now, Yu Haoran only wanted to wait until the black market auction ended and find a chance to capture him alive, then use the soul-searching technique to check his memories. This old man was only joking just now. Yu Zhongshe, don't take it seriously. Hearing the chilling tone in Yu Haoran's reminder, the little old man laughed dryly and immediately set the target of the egg on Qinling Fei. Yu Zhongshe, even if you can't sign a new iron-winged eagle because you already have a pet beast, I'm afraid your lover doesn't have a pet beast yet. With the iron-winged eagle's potential and majestic appearance, it's definitely the most suitable pet beast for your lover. Ling Fei, stay in the mist and don't move around. In the face of his threat, if the little old man stopped here, he would have to wait until the black market auction was over before he could find a chance to make his move. Now, the other party was relentlessly pursuing him, wanting to give him the beast egg. Perhaps even a fool could see that the other party's intentions were not pure. Taking action at this time would not break the rules of the black market auction, nor would it arouse the dissatisfaction of the people present. Therefore, Yu Haoran directly activated the physical body of the ancestral magus. While taking out the purple rod, he instructed Qinling Fei, "Be careful." Nodding her head, Qinling Fei reminded him. Yu Haoran asked with a frosty expression as he tore through the cloudy space and instantly appeared above the little old man's head. "Who are you? Why do you want to harm me?" "Yu Zhongshe, what do you mean by that? Well, have I ever harmed you?" Seeing that Yu Haoran had appeared above his head and was about to make a move, the little old man did not panic at all. Instead, he immediately pretended to be aggrieved and reprimanded him. Frowning slightly, Yu Haoran quickly performed the secret technique of overdrawing the ancestral magus's bloodline. He also reminded the second clone in his sea of consciousness to immediately set up a formation to extract the soul power of the soul stone. Because of the little old man's overly calm reaction, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although there was no fatal warning in his heart, his cautious character still made him prepare everything in advance to avoid capsizing in the gutter. "Old man, since you want to use the beast egg of the iron-winged eagle to exchange for the life essence elixir to prolong your life, why don't you agree to the conditions of the life essence elixir offered by the 5 seniors?" Holding the purple rod tightly in his hand, Yu Haoran stepped on the void and walked towards the high platform as he questioned with a cold smile. "Old man, I have clearly expressed that I do not want to exchange for the iron-winged eagle's beast egg. Why are you pestering me?" In the face of Yu Haoran's pressure, the little old man, who originally had an aggrieved expression, suddenly revealed a strange smile. Immediately after, a terrifying aura that caused the entire world to change color quickly rose from his body. This is the strength of a peak third tribulation quasi-martial venerable. The terrifying aura that suddenly erupted from the little old man immediately alarmed the people on the cloud chairs of the 27 constellations. The middle-aged expert who pointed out the blood oath of Providence could not help but cry out involuntarily as his expression changed. In a situation where the rules of the heavenly way had not been completely fixed, and it was difficult for a martial venerable expert to appear, a peak third tribulation quasi-martial venerable expert could be said to be the peak of strength in the Tianxian continent. Because you Howren, deserve to die. As the terrifying aura rose, the little old man, who was holding a short sword that emitted a fishy smell and a cold light, revealed his killing intent and instantly appeared in front of Howren. The short sword, which contained boundless terrifying power, pierced directly towards Xiao Chen's heart. Ding-dang! Accompanied by the sound of the weapons colliding, Howren was unable to dispel the rebounding force in an instant, causing him to retreat 9 steps before he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Old man, I didn't expect you to know my character so well," Howren said calmly as he reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. When facing the little old man, the other party's overly calm reaction had already made Howren suspicious. He suspected that the other party was very likely taking advantage of his cautious nature and using suspicious actions to thoroughly enrage him. Then, the other party would lure him out of the cloud space of the cloud chair and use this opportunity to assassinate him through a sneak attack. Although the old man's strength was at the peak of third tribulation quasi-martial venerable, and he could successfully kill Xiao Chun through a direct confrontation, there were many experts present at the black market auction who hoped that Xiao Chun could refine the supreme Hua pill for them. In order to preserve the hope of breaking through to the martial venerable realm in the future, they would definitely lend a helping hand. This was probably the real reason why the little old man did not dare to act rashly. It was precisely because he had these suspicions in his heart that he had activated the secret technique of overdrawing the ancestral, which bloodline in advance, and had his second clone set up the formation to extract the soul stone. It was also because he had been prepared in advance that he had successfully blocked the little old man's fatal sneak attack. "It seems that my understanding of you is still not thorough enough," the little old man said with slight disappointment as he put away the short sword in his hand that emitted a fishy smell and a cold light. Then he raised his head and glanced at the cloud chair that represented the 27 lunar mansions. He discovered that at least 7 second tribulation quasi-martial venerable experts had already taken out their natal magic weapons and were ready to support Howren at any time. The little old man said goodbye with a smile on his face. "Zongsher, the mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. I hope that in the future, you will be able to eat, sleep, and play well." Chapter 11-13. In the Black Market Auction Hall. 100 Faces Old Man. I plan to refine 3 to 4 supreme Huazuan pills for the Flowing Cloud Sect, Snow Palace, Lingxiao Pavilion, Weapon Refining Sect, Heavenly Martial Sect, and Xiandao School. Facing the little old man who was about to leave the high platform, Howren put away the purple stick and said something that made the little old man and everyone else's expressions change. What are you trying to do?" The smile on his face was instantly replaced by a gloomy expression. Before his body completely disappeared, the little old man shouted with a stern expression. In response, Howren only sneered and turned back to the cloud chair. "Howren, are you okay?" Qin Lingfei asked worriedly as she looked at Howren, who had collapsed onto the cloud chair and consumed several top-notch healing elixirs. "Lingfei, I'm fine." Howren shook his head and indicated. Using the secret technique of overdrawing the ancestral witch's bloodline only increased the power of his attack, but it did not increase his defense by much. The double defense of the ancestral witch's body and the Ru E-Bell only allowed his defense to reach the level of a second tribulation quasi-martial venerable. If he had not used the purple stick in time to offset a part of the attack power of the short sword, even if he did not die, he would have fallen from the clouds on the spot, giving the 100 Faces old man a chance to continue his attack. "Howren, who is the 100 Faces old man? What do you mean by what you said just now?" Looking at Howren, whose breath was gradually stabilizing with the help of the healing pills, Qin Lingfei temporarily relaxed. At the same time, she recalled that when the little old man left, he shouted out the other party's origin and said something inexplicable. It's a small sect in the central region's Tianshui County. It's a sect that's good at disguising techniques. The Hundred Faces Old Man is the sect leader of this sect. When he was attacked by the Hundred Faces Old Man's short sword, by constantly retreating to offset part of the rebound force, it only causes internal organs and meridians to be severely injured. His sea of consciousness and dantian were unscathed. Therefore, this did not affect him from using top-notch healing pills to recover from his injuries, while explaining to Qin Lingfei the origin of the All-Faces Old Man. After hearing Yu Haoran's introduction of the origin of the Hundred-Face Old Man, Qin Lingfei said in disbelief, "Haoran, even the top first-rate sects don't necessarily have an expert who is at the peak of the third tribulation quasi-martial venerable. It's too strange for an insignificant sect to have an expert like the Hundred-Face Old Man. Ling Fei, a mediocre sect, is just a way for the one-faced old man to hide his true origins." At this point, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and said with a solemn expression, "Because his true origin is actually an elder from the Yushu Temple's underground palace. The Hundred-Face Old Man, who is an expert in the art of disguise, could not only change his appearance that could not be distinguished by spiritual sense, but he could also change his body through special means. It could be said that he had reached the pinnacle of disguise. If he had not accidentally seen the Hundred-Face Old Man's transformation in his previous life, he would not have known. If the Hundred-Face Old Man had not temporarily relaxed when he left the high platform and leaked a trace of his own aura, he would not have been able to guess his true origin. Haoran, why does the Yushu Temple want to deal with you?" After hearing that the Hundred-Face Old Man came from the Yushu Temple, Qin Lingfei instantly understood the meaning of Yu Haoran's last sentence and immediately asked anxiously. After all, as one of the top 7 sects in the Tianshin continent, the Yushu Temple was an unbearable pressure for every warrior in the Tianshin continent, whether it was its overall strength or the deterrence that had lasted for thousands of years. "It might have something to do with the fact that I killed a deacon of a Yushu temple in front of the sword tower some time ago," Yu Haoran replied truthfully. "Haoran, are you really planning to join forces with the top 6 sects to deal with the Yushu temple?" After knowing the reason behind Yu Haoran's conflict with the Yushu temple, Qin Lingfei immediately thought about how to resolve the hatred between the two sides. But before that, she needed to know Yu Haoran's true attitude towards the Yushu temple. How was that possible? After hearing Qin Lingfei's question, Yu Haoran immediately shook his head and said mockingly, "None of the top 7 sects are kind people. If I join forces with them to deal with the Yushu temple, I'm afraid that they will sell me out the moment we form an alliance." "Then why did you refine 3 to 4 supreme Huazuan pills for the top 6 sects?" Qin Lingfei asked in confusion. "It's not only to take revenge for the sneak attack of the Hundred Faces Old Man, but also to cause trouble for some people in the Yushu Temple," Yu Haoran replied shamelessly. "Haoran, aren't you afraid that the experts of the top 6 sects will come looking for you?" Faced with Yu Haoran's shameless answer, Qin Lingfei felt a little funny and reminded him worriedly, "Lingfei, I am an alchemist who can refine the supreme Huazuan pill. When to start refining the pill and the success rate of refining the supreme Huazuan pill are all decided by me alone." At this point, Yu Haoran's gaze turned to the south where the Death Valley was. "What's more, do you think it's so easy to gather the 108 medicinal herbs needed to refine the supreme Huazuan pill?" Perhaps it was because of the sudden change just now that the attention of the people present was temporarily not on the auction, causing the auction to be temporarily suspended. Seeing that no one went up to the stage to carry out the auction, he did not want to expose more secrets because of Qin Lingfei's questioning. At the same time, the threat of the indigenous people of the Forbidden Area and the Hundred Flowers Old Man made Yu Haoran even more urgent for Thaling to wake up in advance. Therefore, he did not wait for the best time to strike. After signaling Qin Lingfei to be quiet for a while, he appeared on the high platform in a flash. Then, he took out 3 elixir bottles from his storage ring and said to the people present, "Rank 4, 3rd grade 5 life mysterious gate elixir. Rank 4, 3rd grade ice heart jade bone elixir. And rank 4, 3rd grade 3-striped spirit clearing elixir in exchange for a rank 3 1st grade ghost face flower. Yu Haoran, who appeared on the high platform, instantly pulled everyone's attention back to the auction. After seeing the 3 elixirs that he had just taken out, which were used to help a quasi-martial venerable expert go through the body calamity, the soul calamity, and the state of mind, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly surged. However, when faced with the ghost face flower that Yu Haoran had proposed to exchange for, nearly 90% of the martial artists present did not know what kind of spiritual flower it was. Ghost face flower, a spiritual flower that contains a strong poison. The alchemy master who had pointed out the origins of the 6 spiritual fruits of the woman in black explained in detail to the people around him. Although the ghost face flower does not appear in the Tianxin continent's 100 poison ranking, the strong poison it contains is not inferior to the demon soul fruit, which is ranked 91st. Yu Zhongshe, I do have a rank 3 1st grade ghost face flower, but I do not need these 3 elixirs. Chapter 1114. In the black market auction venue. Senior Zhou, you don't want this junior's promise to refine the supreme Huazuan pill for free, do you? Yu Haoran asked with a smile. That's right. The expert surnamed Zhou in the cloud chair admitted and explained. I have successfully passed the body tribulation and the mind tribulation. I have 90% confidence in passing the soul tribulation. So, I want to promise to refine the supreme Huazuan pill for free. Senior Zhou, it's not that I don't want to agree, but can you collect the 108 medicinal herbs needed to refine the supreme Huazuan pill? Faced with the request of the expert surnamed Zhou, Yu Haoran asked reluctantly. Yu Zhongshe, you don't have to worry about this. I have my own way of collecting the medicinal herbs. The expert surnamed Zhou said in a somewhat impolite tone. In this regard, although Yu Haoran still had a smile on his face, his attitude also began to become serious. Senior Zhou, if this junior agrees to help you refine the supreme Huazuan pill for free, then the value of a 3rd rank 1st grade ghost face flower is somewhat low. In addition to this ghost face flower, I will be responsible for helping you resolve the grudge between you and the Yushu Temple. How about it? The expert surnamed Zhou, who had already thought of a countermeasure, said confidently. His expression did not change, but his heart trembled slightly. Yu Haoran had already guessed the origin of the other party and knew that the other party was not talking nonsense just now. The day when the 108 medicinal herbs are gathered is the day when this junior opens the furnace to refine the supreme Huazuan pill. In order to reassure Qin Lingfei and to delay for himself, Yu Haoran left his promise. Here, a jade box made of green jade flew out from the cloud chair space, representing the Heart Moon Fox constellation. Yu Haoran chose to believe in the other party's character. He did not open it for inspection and directly put it away. Then, he returned to his own cloud chair space. Haoran, that's great, Qin Lingfei said happily as she hugged Yu Haoran's arm. Yu Haoran nodded with a smile on his face, but he felt extremely depressed in his heart. Strength. If he had the strength of a martial venerable, would the Yushu Temple dare to provoke him? How dare this Zhou guy look down on him? No, not only did they not dare to, but they would also carefully observe his expression. Lingfei, you can watch the auction by yourself first. If there's anything you like, you can bid on it directly. Right now, I need to recall the refining process of a certain pill formula. Yu Haoran instructed Qin Lingfei as he leaned back in his chair. I got it. Qin Lingfei was able to guess that Yu Haoran would definitely want to refine a pill that was not inferior to a supreme Huadan in terms of quality for a ghost face flower. Therefore, she nodded obediently and turned her attention to a young expert who had just leaped onto the high platform. Closing his eyes, Yu Haoran began to carefully recall the pill formula that could awaken Thaling. In the Yuan Pavilion, Lingfei, after returning to the palace, you must cultivate well and try to raise your cultivation to the peak of the 7th grade Martial Saint realm before the start of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon rankings. Standing in the courtyard of the Yuan Pavilion, Yu Haoran held Qin Lingfei's hand tightly and carefully reminded her. Because only a peak of the 7th grade martial saint realm can unleash 30% of the power of the profound Soul Fire and have the chance to enter the top 100 of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon rankings. I'll remember it. Qin Lingfei nodded with tears in her eyes and reluctantly reminded him. Howren, you're alone outside. Safety first. You must control your temper and endure some things if you can. I understand. Nodding, Yu Howren instructed the 30 Imperial Guards who were guarding by the side. Safely escort the princess back to the palace. Yes, sir. The 30 Imperial Guards replied in unison. Let's go. Yu Howren waved to Qin Lingfei, who was surrounded by the Imperial Guards. After Qin Lingfei and the others disappeared from his sight, the smile on Yu Howren's face was instantly replaced by indifference. After using his mind to wake up the black bear in the beast pet space and instructing him to guard him, Yu Howren stepped into the cultivation room and sat down cross-legged. However, he didn't refine pills for the time being. Instead, he carefully recalled what happened at the black market auction. Although he was arrogant and easily offended people, he had never offended the Chamber of Commerce of the Heavenly Earth, the Guliang family of the Southern Region, the natives of the Death Swamp, and the Yushu Temple like he did at the black market auction. This made him vaguely feel that there seemed to be a problem with his own luck, as if the protection of the rules of heaven was decreasing. Moreover, through the deal with the Ghostface Flower, he found that the impact of his alchemy cultivation breaking through the realm of the Great Grandmaster and being able to refine the Supreme Huashuan Pill was far from what he imagined. Some of the top families of inheritance and the experts of the 7 top sects never really looked up to him. This also made him realize that the auxiliary cultivation system was always just a small way. What could really determine a person's status and influence was martial arts, which represented real strength. Martial arts was the right way for warriors to cultivate. After sorting out and reviewing the gains and losses of the black market auction, Yu Howren took a deep breath and swallowed an elixir used to calm his qi and concentrate his mind. He tried his best to calm his emotions completely. When his mind was completely calm, he directly took out the 8 spiritual herbs with exuberant vitality and the life-taking grass, which was ranked 3rd on the 100 poisons list. Brother Ran, guard me. Yu Howren instructed the second doppelganger in the sea of consciousness before performing the void pill condensation technique. Don't worry about refining the elixir. I'll take care of everything. After nodding his head, the second doppelganger left the sea of consciousness and directly appeared in front of the door of the cultivation room, acting as the second barrier to protect Yu Howren while he refined the elixir. Mobilizing the elixir fire to float in midair, he then performed the void pill condensation technique through seal. Yu Howren solemnly began to refine the elixir that could awaken the Thaling. Third brother, what do you think the clan leader and the elders are thinking? Next to a pine tree about 100 meters away from the Heavenly Human Chamber of Commerce, a young man of about 16 or 17 years old complained to another slightly older man. With just the 2 of us, who are at the martial warrior realm, trying to assassinate Yu Howren, whose real strength is not inferior to the 3rd tribulation quasi-martial honorable realm, is like sending lambs to the tiger's mouth. We are just sending ourselves to death. Chen Yuan, lower your voice. After hearing his brother's complaint, the slightly older man immediately reminded him. Then, after looking around and seeing that no one was paying attention to them, he whispered to Chen Yuan in a low voice. It is precisely because Yu Howren's strength is too strong. Unless the ancestor of the martial honorable realm personally takes action, no one in the clan is a match for Yu Howren. Chapter 11:15. In front of the Heavenly Earth Chamber of Commerce. Third brother, regardless of the success of the sneak attack, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep our lives. After hearing third brother's explanation, the young man called Chen Yuan reminded him with a dejected look on his face. Chen Yuan, as a direct descendant of the Guliang family, our sacrifice is worth it for the Guliang family to continue for thousands of years. The young man called third brother said righteously. Seeing the fanaticism in third brother's eyes, the young man called Chen Yuan shook his head inwardly and didn't say anything more. Chen Yuan, it's about time. Let's pretend to be customers buying cultivation resources and find an opportunity to sneak into the Yuan Pavilion in the back of the Chamber of Commerce. Looking at the 6 or 7 warriors entering the Chamber of Commerce, the young man called Third Brother instructed. Then, without waiting for Chun Yuan's agreement, the young man called Third Brother strode into the Chamber of Commerce. The young man called Chun Yuan shook his head with a bitter smile and quickened his pace to catch up. Mayor, it's up to you now. Just as the 2 youths from the Gu Liang clan walked towards the Chamber of Commerce with large strides, an old man with silver hair appeared beside the pine tree that they were originally standing on. There was also a young woman with a face that could cause the downfall of nations and cities, and a charming and enchanting temperament. Looking at the 2 young people entering the Chamber of Commerce, the silver-haired old man instructed the beautiful woman. Master, the Zhou family has already come forward to mediate, and the Sky Sovereign has already agreed to resolve the grudge between him and Yu Haoran. Why do you still want to arrange for disciples to sneak attack? The beautiful woman reminded the silver-haired old man reluctantly. Faced with the disciples' reminder, the silver-haired old man couldn't help but snort coldly. In the entire Tianxian continent, except for the 4 inherited guardian families, no matter who offends our Yushu temple, the destruction of their family is their punishment. Their final destination is to have their souls scattered. At this point, the silver-haired old man suddenly sighed, and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Moreover, Yu Haoran's talent in alchemy is rarely seen in 10,000 years. The alchemy ability he possesses is too great a threat to our Yushu temple's secret plan. Not to mention the Zhou clan. Even if the clansmen of the 4 great legacy guardian clans personally came to mediate, we would definitely not let Yu Haoran off. All right, after hearing her master's reason for not killing Yu Haoran, the beautiful woman shrugged and nodded helplessly. Then, the beautiful woman reached out and touched her face. When her jade-like hands left her face, the stunning woman instantly turned into a person who was exactly the same as Qin Lingfei in terms of appearance and temperament. Mayor, not only do you have to pay attention to your safety, you also have to avoid exposing the relationship between you and me. The 100 Faces old man, looking at the disciple who had transformed into Qin Lingfei, the silver-haired old man nodded in satisfaction and then reminded her with a serious expression. Master, I understand. After nodding her head to indicate that she understood, the woman who had become Qin Lingfei suddenly slammed her palm against her chest. After spitting out 3 mouthfuls of blood essence, the woman who had turned into Qin Lingfei not only turned as pale as a sheet of paper, but her aura also dropped directly to that of a martial emperor. Go! The silver-haired old man ordered as his body gradually turned illusory when he saw that his disciple had used self-harm to get closer to Yu Haoran. The pills are done, as an elixir that used the life-seizing grass as its main ingredient. Although it was only a rank 3 first-grade pill, the difficulty of the entire refining process was no less than that of the supreme Huaxun elixir. Fortunately, his powerful pill condensation technique and his own talent in alchemy had allowed him to successfully refine the elixir that could awaken the Thaling. Moreover, after this round of refining the elixir, he was more confident in refining the supreme Huaxun elixir by 10%. Roar! Boom! After keeping the 9 elixirs that were floating in mid-air, Yu Haoran took a closer look and realized that the quality of the elixir was quite good. Then, when he was about to enter his consciousness and personally awaken the Thaling, the furious roar of the black bear suddenly came from outside the refining room. It sounded like the explosion of the black saliva ball. Frowning slightly, Yu Haoran retracted his alchemy fire. When he was about to go out to take a look, the black bear's furious roar was immediately replaced by a wail. Woo! Without any hesitation, Yu Haoran rushed out of the refining room and appeared beside the black bear that had fallen to the ground. Master, I've been poisoned. Seeing Yu Haoran rush to his side, the black bear reminded him before he completely fainted. Looking at the black bear that was originally very black had become as black as charcoal because of the poison, Yu Haoran's face instantly turned gloomy. After the two forces from his sleeves had directly knocked out the two young men who were trying to escape, he immediately analyzed the origin of the poison from the bloodstain at the corner of the black bear's mouth. Arrow venom. From the bloodstain at the corner of the black bear's mouth, he analyzed that the poison in the black bear's mouth was only the arrow venom, which was ranked 90th on the 100 poisons list. After that, Howard secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After taking out a detoxification pill from his storage ring and feeding it to the black bear, Howard immediately picked out 9 types of highly toxic medicinal herbs that could improve cultivation. Then, using the void pill condensation technique, he refined the detoxification pill that could detoxify the arrow venom on the spot. In just 2 minutes, 9 bright red elixirs appeared in his hands. After feeding the detoxification pill that he had just refined into the black bear's body and then putting it back into the beast pet space, Howard stepped toward the 2 young men who had just been knocked out. People from the Guoyang family. The blood oath of providence, formed by the heavenly Tao, could sense the existence of both parties within a certain distance. Therefore, just as he walked up to the 2 young men, Howard knew their origins. Because the cultivation of these 2 young men was too low, the aura they emitted was too weak, and at the same time he was immersed in refining the elixir, so he didn't sense their existence in advance, causing the black bear to be attacked by the highly toxic poison. However, since he already knew their origins, the rest of the matter would be easy to deal with. Bending down, he directly lifted the 2 young men up. Howard planned to hand them over to his second clone in the training room and let his second clone use the method of searching their souls to understand the true heritage of the Guoyang family. Meanwhile, he entered the victor's consciousness and immediately used the elixir to awaken the Thaling. Not only would he help him deal with the thorny problem in front of him, but he would also take the opportunity to explain the many doubts that had accumulated in his heart. Howard, save me. Just as Howard carried the 2 young men from the Guoyang family and stepped into the training room, he suddenly heard a familiar cry for help. Chapter 11:16. Outside Yuan Pavilion. Ling Fei, what's wrong with you? Looking at Qin Ling Fei, whose chest was stained with blood, her face was as pale as paper, and her breath was weak, Howard appeared beside her and asked anxiously, "Cough." When she opened her mouth to answer Howard's question, Qin Ling Fei could not help coughing because of the sudden injury in her body. Along with the coughing, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Ling Fei, take this healing elixir quickly. Looking at Qin Ling Fei, whose injury was getting worse, Howard immediately took out a crystal-clear elixir with a trace of red in the middle. He put it directly to her mouth and ordered her to take it quickly. After a slight hesitation, Qin Ling Fei finally opened her mouth and swallowed the healing elixir. After feeling the healing elixir and the rapid recovery of the injury in her body, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Ling Fei, what happened on the way back to the palace? Where are the imperial guards who were protecting you? Looking at Qin Ling Fei, whose breath was gradually stabilizing, Howard breathed a sigh of relief and then hurriedly asked, "Howard, we were ambushed on the way back to the palace. In order to cover my escape, the imperial guards all..." Speaking of this, Qin Ling Fei's eyes moistened and tears fell from the corner of her eyes. "Ling Fei, it's okay. Howard, will definitely find out who the murderer is. I will definitely avenge you and those imperial guards." Howard reached out to hold Qin Ling Fei's small waist and solemnly promised. However, after feeling Qin Ling Fei's slightly stiff body, a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. "Howard, thank you." When she raised her hand to wipe the tears from the corner of her eyes, Qin Ling Fei secretly observed Howard through the gaps between her fingers. She noticed that Howard was looking at her with passion at this moment. A fierce look flashed in her eyes. A small silver-white snake that was only 4 to 5 centimeters long was coiled around the finger of her right hand in her sleeve. Ling Fei, the healing elixir just now could barely suppress the further injury in your body. Howard slightly tightened his left hand around her waist and reminded her while taking her to the practice room in Yuan Pavilion to further heal her injury. Okay. Nodding her head gently, Qin Lingfei directly leaned on Yu Haoran's body with the help of his strong hug. But the masculine pheromones from Yu Haoran's body instantly made her feel absent-minded. She bit the tip of her tongue forcefully, and the intense pain made her quickly wake up. Just as the fingers of her right hand, which were hidden under her sleeves, were about to give the little silver snake a command to launch a sneak attack, the hand that was hugging her suddenly clenched. A numb feeling spread throughout her body, causing her mind to go blank in an instant. Brother Rand, do it! Taking advantage of the fact that Qin Lingfei's mind was completely confused by his Dragon Claw move just now, Yu Haoran used the doppelganger's sensing method to instruct his second doppelganger in the practice room. His 10 fingers quickly formed a seal. Before Qin Lingfei really woke up, his second doppelganger sealed her sea of consciousness, her dantian, and her physical body in time. After he hugged Qin Lingfei tightly and entered the practice room, he first let his second doppelganger use the formation to seal the door that he had broken. After that, Yu Haoran let go of his left hand that was hugging her waist. After putting more than 2 meters of distance between them, Yu Haoran unlocked her tongue, ears, and eyes. Then, he looked at her with a cold smile. Haoran, what are you doing? The moment her tongue was unlocked, Qin Lingfei asked in a slightly panicked manner. Who the hell are you? What is your relationship with the 100 change, old man? Ignoring Qin Lingfei's questioning, Yu Haoran looked straight into her eyes and asked, Haoran, I am your fiancé, Qin Lingfei. Facing Yu Haoran's interrogation, Qin Lingfei's eyes revealed an anxious look as she shouted, No! Facing Qin Lingfei's anxious cry, Yu Haoran shook his head and said, You're not my fiancé. You just used a disguise technique to change your appearance to look like her. Haoran, what do I have to do for you to believe that I am your fiancé? Her questioning tone revealed sadness, disappointment, and helplessness, which almost made Yu Haoran's heart weaken. Fortunately, his mental state cultivation, which was about to break through to the martial honorable realm, allowed him to quickly stabilize his state of mind. He then looked at Qin Lingfei with a sneer. It seems like you won't give up until you see the coffin. You won't turn back until you hit the wall. Having said that, Yu Haoran took out a communication jade talisman from a storage ring and waved it at Qin Lingfei as he spoke. This is the communication jade talisman that my fiancé gave me when I parted ways with her. I can contact her directly now to see if she has returned to the palace or if I have used a sealing technique to seal her in front of me. Mr. Yu, I think that my disguise technique has reached the acme of perfection. Even a peak third tribulation quasi-martial honorable realm powerhouse would not be able to see through the abnormality. How did you see through the flaw? Qin Lingfei's expression changed slightly when she heard that he could directly contact the person in question. Then, the sadness in her eyes was replaced by indifference. She calmed down in an instant and asked in a cold tone, If you want to know how I saw through the flaw in your disguise technique, I can. However, you have to answer my 2 questions first. After putting away the communication jade talisman, Yu Haoran took the initiative to make his request. Without waiting for Yu Haoran to ask, the woman who had turned into Qin Lingfei immediately answered, My name is Mayer. My master is the 100-face old man. 2 flaws. Seeing that the woman who called herself Mayer was so straightforward, Yu Haoran did not have any requests or hide anything from her. The first flaw is your scent. I, Yu Haoran, have a sensitivity to scent that surpasses that of exotic beasts. I can use my scent to track any corner within 1,000 miles. I can use my scent to identify anyone I see. The second flaw is your reaction. I've been engaged to Ling Fei for more than half a year. We've had a few chances to be alone with each other. Other than the final yin and yang fusion, we've basically done everything else that needs to be done. Therefore, when faced with my intimate actions, her reaction would not be stiff. Instead, she would respond more passionately. I understand now. Hearing the 2 flaws pointed out by Yu Haoran, Mayer's eyes shone with confidence once again. The flaws that you've discovered are not because my disguise technique is not good enough. It's because I made a mistake in choosing the character to disguise myself as. Speaking up to this point, Mare smiled at Yu Haoran as she spoke. Yu Haoran, thank you for your guidance. You've allowed my 100-face mental cultivation method to break through the bottleneck and officially reach the realm of being able to do as I please. Chapter 1117. Yuan Pavilion, Practice Room. Not good. Hearing Mei Er's words of gratitude, Yu Haoran had a bad feeling. The natal magic weapon that appeared in his hand instantly pierced towards her heart. But the result was that the natal magic weapon directly pierced through Mei and appeared behind her. Yu Haoran, I seem to have fallen in love with you. I hope that the next time we meet, something that should happen between a man and a woman. Perhaps through those things, you'll also fall in love with me. Just as Mei Er's illusory body was about to disappear, she left behind a provocation that caused Yu Haoran to burn with anger. However, just as Mei completely disappeared from the practice room, Yu Haoran, who was originally burning with anger, calmed down in an instant. He even revealed a trace of a proud smile on his face. A drop of blood appeared on his outstretched left palm. Then, he took out a pill bottle from his storage ring. After collecting the drop of blood from his palm into the pill bottle, Yu Haoran turned his head and instructed his second doppelganger. Brother Ran, the two brats outside Yuan Pavilion are direct descendants of the Guliang clan. I'll have to trouble you to use the soul-searching technique to search their memories and see the true heritage of the Guliang clan. Got it. Nodding his head, his second doppelganger directly left the practice room and brought the two youths of the Guliang clan back to the practice room. Then, he used the soul-searching technique to start reading their memories. Yu Haoran directly bent his knees and sat cross-legged. Then his mind touched the imprint in his knowledge sea, and his body directly entered the victor in his knowledge sea. Stepping out of the hall on the first floor of the victor, his body appeared in his knowledge sea. Looking up at the victor in front of him, Yu Haoran took out a pill bottle containing pills from his storage ring. After pouring out a pill, he directly flicked it toward the victor. Feeling the exuberant vitality contained in the pill, the top of the victor pagoda immediately formed a strong suction force and directly absorbed the pill into the pagoda. After waiting for about a minute, there was no sign of Thaling waking up. Yu Haoran poured out the second pill and flicked it at Victor. Although Victor's aura had become stronger after fusing with the second pill, the Thaling still showed no signs of waking up. Without any hesitation, he poured out the third pill and threw it at Victor. After Victor fused with the third pill that contained exuberant vitality, not only did his aura become stronger, but a special energy fluctuation also came from Victor's body. Along with the special energy fluctuations, a terrifying aura that caused countless storms to roll up in the sea of consciousness slowly rose from within Victor. Feeling that familiar and terrifying aura, Yu Haoran secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and at the same time, a look of joy and excitement appeared on his face. After the terrifying aura reached its peak, it quickly fell back down. At the same time, the door of Victor, which automatically went into seclusion, slowly opened. Soon after, a middle-aged man of about 40 years old with a dignified appearance and gentle eyes walked out of the Victor. Thaling, looking at the middle-aged man with a gentle smile on his face, Yu Haoran greeted him with a smile. Not bad. Walking to Yu Haoran's side, Thaling inspected him from head to toe and sincerely praised him. It seems that while I was asleep, you didn't relax your cultivation. Let's talk. Pointing at the void in front of the sea of consciousness, Yu Haoran invited him. Sure. Nodding his head, Thaling walked to the sea of consciousness and said with a smile, It just so happens that I also want to know what you experienced while I was asleep. After sitting cross-legged facing each other, Yu Haoran began to talk about everything he experienced while Thaling was asleep. After hearing that Yu Haoran had successfully comprehended the dual laws of life and death by breaking through to the martial saint realm, Thaling nodded his head and praised him with gratification. Actually, when I was about to fall asleep, I had a feeling that with your potential and comprehension, as well as your own opportunities, you would definitely be able to comprehend the dual laws of life and death. However, when he heard that Yu Haoran had encountered the mysterious yellow saber and Li Dongyun in the cave of Miao Sangche, Faling couldn't help but ask with a sudden change in expression. Yu Haoran, did you expose your whereabouts in front of the mysterious yellow saber? Did you leak the aura of the victor? After shaking his head and explaining that he had been completely sealed by the Miao Tsangshui and had only used his divine sense to observe the battle between Li Dongyun and the Miao Tsangshui, Yu Haoran looked straight into Faling's eyes and asked with an extremely solemn expression, Faling, what is your ultimate goal in staying in my sea of consciousness? In the face of Yu Haoran's solemn interrogation, Faling didn't answer immediately. He just slowly closed his eyes. After closing his eyes in silence for nearly 10 minutes, Faling opened his eyes again and asked with an equally solemn expression, Yu Haoran, did you discover that the Faling of the mysterious yellow saber was absorbing a large amount of the host's vitality? That's right. Yu Haoran nodded and said without hiding anything. According to my understanding of Li Dongyun in my previous life, and then combined with the changes in my own strength after my rebirth, I didn't see any of the benefits Li Dongyun received after his reincarnation. To say something too arrogant, don't think that his background and opportunities are better than mine. Give me a year, and I can easily kill him. Alas, after hearing Yu Haoran's honest answer, Faling sighed and said with a complicated expression, Yu Haoran, I'm different from the mysterious yellow saber. To be more precise, with the help of the power of the demon god's ancient tomb's self-destruction, we're different from each other. The mysterious yellow saber kills too much. In order to recover its body, it will do anything, even if the host's soul is destroyed. The void mirror is cunning and suspicious. Although it won't hurt the host, it will never selflessly help the host become stronger. The Xianyuan sword is very arrogant. Although it will do its best to help the host become stronger, after the host's injuries have recovered to a certain extent, it will choose to leave the host and find someone in this world who is truly worthy of it. The heaven refining pot is selfish and extremely ambitious. After the host becomes strong to a certain extent, it will use its unique refining ability to replace the host as the host's master. Faling, what about you? Hearing Faling's evaluation of the 4 magic tools that had successfully reincarnated with the help of the host during the demon god's ancient tomb's explosion, Yu Haoran asked nervously. Mutual benefit. Through the space of the sea of consciousness, Faling looked at the world outside the sea of consciousness with a hint of longing in his eyes. In the long years, I've experienced too much of the world's gratitude and resentment. I've seen countless life and death separations. My heart is full of curiosity and yearning for the various emotions that human beings have. Speaking of this, Faling withdrew his gaze from the sea of consciousness and said to Yu Haoran with excitement in his eyes. Chapter 11:18. In the Knowledge Sea. In that case, Faling, you also want to possess my body and obtain a new life through the means of reincarnation. Looking at Faling, who could not hide the excitement in his eyes, Yu Haoran's face instantly became gloomy. He forcefully suppressed the murderous aura in his heart and asked with gritted teeth, No, don't misunderstand. I will not obtain a new life through the means of reincarnation. Feeling the murderous aura surging in Yu Haoran's body, Faling hurriedly shook his head in denial and asked seriously, Yu Haoran, you have explored so many ancient, medieval, and recent ruins in your previous life. I wonder if you have heard of the origins of the 5 elements? After getting Faling's firm denial, the murderous aura surging in Yu Haoran's heart weakened slightly. After hearing him mention the origins of the 5 elements, he thought carefully for a while, then nodded and said, The origins of the 5 elements, born from yin and yang, follows the beginning of martial arts, which gives birth to 1, 1 gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, and 3 gives birth to all things. You can say that the origins of the 5 elements are the foundation of the entire world. That's right. Nodding in agreement with Yu Haoran's evaluation of the origins of the 5 elements, Faling said excitedly, Yu Haoran, If your cultivation can break through the martial god realm, then you can use a special power to help me isolate the victor from my body. If I can obtain the energy of the origins of the five elements, then I can use the energy of the origins of the five elements to reconstruct my body and completely break away from my identity as Thaling and have a new life. After hearing the pagoda spirit reveal the true purpose of reincarnation, Yuhauran felt as though a huge rock had been lifted off his chest. Then, he remembered that since he met Thaling, it had always been Thaling who did his best to help him. Now, Thaling already had a life goal to strive for, so he should do his best to help him achieve his wish. Therefore, he closed his eyes and carefully recalled the experiences of his previous life. Finally, he thought of the whereabouts of one of the origin energies. Thaling, I know that in the depths of the Death Swamp, there seems to be an immortal wood vine that contains wood origin energy. Yuhauran, are you telling the truth? Just as Yuhauran said that he needed the energy of the five elements to reconstruct his body, Yuhauran directly gave him the whereabouts of one of the source energies. For a moment, Thaling found it hard to believe that a pie had fallen from the sky. In my previous life, when I was under the lead of the Void Spirit Mouse and escaped the pursuit of the natives of the Swamp of Death, I once saw a mature, immortal wood vine in the sacred land of the natives. Thaling, I believe that the origin of wood contained within the matured immortal wood vine should be able to satisfy the energy you need to reconstruct your body. Yuhauran explained in detail how he had seen the immortal wood vine in his previous life in order to dispel the doubts in Thaling's heart. After receiving Yuhauran's confirmation, Thaling excitedly stood up and started to walk in circles around the original victor. After walking a total of 9 circles, he finally calmed down the excited emotions in his heart. When he once again sat cross-legged in front of Yuhauran, Thaling solemnly expressed his thanks. Waving his hand, indicating that Thaling didn't need to be polite, Yuhauran continued to talk about his origins. After hearing that he had obtained the void pill condensation technique, Fushi's 8 trigrams diagram, and the incomplete heavenly cycle star formation from Miao Sangshui, Thaling's expression gradually became serious. Thaling, do you think that the opportunities that Miao Sangshui obtained, as well as the various methods that he used the Nirvana pill, are they related to the arrangements of the heavenly Tao? Raising his head to look at Thaling, Yuhauran asked the second question that had been accumulating in his heart. More accurately speaking, is it because of the interference of the heavenly Tao? Looking at Yuhauran with deep meaning, Thaling silently nodded his head, acknowledging his previous conjecture. However, Thaling didn't reveal any more secrets about the heavenly Tao. Regarding this, Yuhauran knew that Thaling might have a certain degree of fear towards the heavenly Tao and wasn't willing to discuss too much about the heavenly Tao in order to avoid attracting the attention of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, he took the initiative to change the topic about the heavenly Tao and continue to talk about his experiences during this period of time. Not good. When he heard Yuhauran mention that he had admitted in front of everyone that he could refine the supreme Weirin pill, Thaling's expression suddenly changed, and he cried out involuntarily. Thaling, what's wrong? Yuhauran immediately asked nervously. Without answering Yuhauran's question, Thaling asked with a serious expression, Yuhauran, how long has it been since you admitted in front of everyone that you could refine the supreme Weirin pill? After pondering for a moment, Yuhauran replied, about 20 days. After hearing the time given by Yuhauran, Thaling immediately got up and returned to the victor. 3 minutes later, Thaling, who had returned in front of him, reminded him with a serious expression. Yuhauran, 3 days. You can only stay here for 3 days at most before you have to leave the Twin Bull Mountain. Thaling, it doesn't matter if you leave the Twin Bull Mountain in 3 days or right now. However, you have to give me a reason for leaving. Thaling's strange behavior just now made Yuhauran even more suspicious. At the same time, he could not help but ask directly. The Blue Dragon clan that has inherited the bloodline of the 4 guardian beasts from the ancient times will send enforcers to kill you in 4 days to 10 days, Thaling said with a serious expression. After hearing Thaling's explanation, Yuhauran immediately questioned him in dissatisfaction. Why? Not only did he not have any grudges with the Blue Dragon clan, but they had also never really come into contact with each other. Yet, they sent enforcers to kill him. Because your ability to refine the Supreme Wearin Pill has already broken the rules set by the four Guardian clans, Thaling said word by word. Thaling, I don't understand. Since ancient times, there were definitely more than 100 alchemy grandmasters who could refine the Supreme Wearin Pill, if not more than 1,000. Why were those alchemy grandmasters not pursued by the four Guardian clans? Because the four Guardian clans need to gather all their strength to complete a plan that they have been preparing since ancient times. Now, the time for them to execute their plan is getting closer and closer. They will definitely not allow any existence that breaks the rules. Thaling sighed and asked after explaining to this point. You, Howren, think carefully. In the past 10,000 years, have there been any records or rumors of alchemy grandmasters refining the Supreme Wearin Pill in the Tianxian continent? He closed his eyes and thought carefully for a while. Cold sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. This was because he suddenly remembered that when his first clone accepted the inheritance of the alchemy grandmaster in the Medicine Valley, he had once said that the alchemy grandmaster was suddenly assassinated by a group of black-clothed people when he successfully broke through to the alchemy emperor realm. Chapter 11:19. In his mind, Thaling, do I have to hide from the Blue Dragon clan's law enforcers like a stray dog in the future? Yu Howren asked unwillingly after opening his eyes again. Yu Howren, don't worry too much. Thaling comforted him while shaking his head. According to my understanding of the four great guardian clans and the heavenly law, the more perfect the heavenly law is, the more restrictions it has on the four great guardian clans. As long as you can avoid the law enforcers this time, the four great guardian clans won't be able to send law enforcers to kill you in the next 3 to 5 years. Phew! After hearing Thaling's comforting words, Yu Howren secretly heaved a sigh of relief. But at the same time, a tyrannical emotion rose in his heart. Since he had been recognized as a rule breaker by the four great guardian clans, then in the future, they would definitely fight to the death. If he could eliminate the law enforcers who came to kill him, then he could weaken the strength of the Blue Dragon clan, and also give himself more time to improve his cultivation and strength. Thinking of this, Yu Howren asked, Thaling, the law enforcers sent by the Blue Dragon clan, under normal circumstances, how many would there be, and how strong would they be? Yu Howren, what do you want to do? Thaling, who had a bad feeling, immediately asked. If their strength is within the range of what you and I can bear, I plan to eliminate the law enforcers of the Blue Dragon clan. Yu Howren said with a murderous look. Although he was shocked by Yu Howren's audacious idea, Thaling suddenly had the same idea as Yu Howren when he considered that he had successfully recovered the Emperor Wu's soul body and could use about 1% of the victor's strength. Yu Howren, according to my understanding of the Blue Dragon clan, under normal circumstances, they would not send out a martial saint to deal with a young genius like you. However, considering your shocking talent in alchemy, it's possible that you'll attract some strong cultivators to follow you. They'll definitely send a peak third tribulation quasi-martial saint. There should be 2 or 3 of them. Thaling, if I use the body possession technique, can I kill a peak third tribulation quasi-martial venerable? Yu Howren immediately asked after hearing Thaling's estimation of the strength and number of enforcers dispatched by the Blue Dragon family. If I were to control your body and use the laws, I would be able to easily kill a martial saint. Thaling's confidence in his own strength caused Yu Howren to reveal an uncontrollable excitement on his face. After all, he could even kill a peak martial saint. Whether it was the following exploration of the ruins or dealing with the assassination of the Yushu temple, he would be able to face it calmly. However, his excitement did not last long. As Thaling's tone changed, he instantly fell to the bottom. But I can't deal with the enforcers sent by the Blue Dragon family. Why? Yu Howren asked in disbelief. Because the Black Tortoise family of the 4 great guardian families is proficient in the art of innate divination. If I were to kill the enforcers, it would definitely alarm the Black Tortoise family's sleeping ancestor. When he mentioned the black tortoise family's ancestor, Thaling's eyes flashed with a hint of fear as he continued. If the ancestors of the 4 great guardian families know that I, Thaling, have reappeared, then they would rather postpone the plan that they have been preparing for tens of millions of years to get my body as a victor. Thaling, if even you can't do it, then I can only temporarily avoid the pursuit of the enforcers. Howard said helplessly after hearing Thaling's reason. After all, he had just experienced the power of a peak third tribulation quasi-martial honorable in the black market auction. Although it seemed that he had blocked the sneak attack of the 100-faced old man and did not suffer any serious injuries, the 100-faced old man did not really use all of his strength. This was because in order to ensure the success of the sneak attack, he could not mobilize all of his origin power and soul power in advance, nor could he use the fusion of origin power, soul power, and the power of the laws. Therefore, Howard was very clear that he was definitely not a match for a peak martial saint of the Third Tribulation. Moreover, as the Blue Dragon family that could set the rules of the Tianxian continent, not only would the strength of the enforcers be more powerful, but the power of the laws that they had comprehended and the inherited martial skills that they had mastered would probably be far stronger than the 100-faced old man, Howard, although I can't directly deal with the Blue Dragon family's enforcers. I can use the formation to increase your combat power. Faced with Howard's retreat, Thaling encouraged him with full confidence. As long as the enforcers sent by the Blue Dragon family are not peerless martial saints, then I have the confidence to make them unable to return. Formation. After hearing Thaling mention the help of the formation, Howard immediately thought of the blood oath of destiny between himself and the Guliang family. Suddenly, an extremely daring idea emerged in his heart. A risky plan to use the Heavenly Ways rules to kill the enforcers and the Guliang family. After closing his eyes and carefully considering the feasibility of the plan, Howard told Thaling his idea and plan. After hearing Howard's idea and plan, Thaling thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Howard, with the special relationship between the 4 great guardian families and the Heavenly Ways rules. If the enforcers of the Blue Dragon family were to attack you while you were completing the blood oath of destiny, they would definitely attract the wrath of the Heavenly Ways rules. If you use the wrath of the Heavenly Ways rules to break the seal in the body of the Guliang family's martial saint, you would also attract the wrath of the Heavenly Ways rules. After all, the current environment still does not allow the appearance of power that exceeds the martial saint realm. Seeing that his plan had received Thaling's approval, Howard was wild with joy and quickly checked his collection. After all, if he wanted to break the seal in the body of the Guliang family's martial saint when the wrath of the Heavenly Ways rules came against the Blue Dragon family's enforcers, he would have to use some special means. In his previous life, when he was exploring the remains of the near ancient era, he had obtained a pill that could greatly increase one's strength in a short period of time. This pill was called the blood pill. It was a pill that could rapidly increase one's strength without any side effects. It was different from ordinary pills that could increase one's strength. Using the blood pill to increase one's strength did not require consumption. As long as one was in the sea of blood formed after the blood pill exploded, one's strength would uncontrollably increase by several times, or even dozens of times. Chapter 11:20. In the Sea of Consciousness. After careful inspection, Howard found that among the 9 herbs that could be used to refine the blood pill, he still lacked a rank for blood soul grass. Thinking that the blood soul grass was not a rare spirit grass, he immediately took out a blank jade slip, and then marked the shape and characteristics of the blood soul grass in the jade slip. Then he sent the jade slip out of the sea of consciousness and into the hands of the second doppelganger. Brother Ran, I'll have to trouble you to hand this jade slip to Shun Jinwan. Tell him, no matter what method he uses, no matter how much he has to pay, he must help me find the spirit grass recorded in the jade slip within 3 days. Okay, I got it. Nodding, the second doppelganger turned and left the cultivation room. After the second doppelganger left, Howard looked at Thaling and asked the question that had been accumulating in his heart for a long time. Pagoda's spirit, is my reincarnation real, or is it just a dream? Howren, what do you mean? Fowling frowned slightly and asked puzzledly. In my previous life, until I took the risk to break into the demon god's ancient tomb, no matter whether it was known or heard, the highest cultivation was only at the peak of the 9th level martial saint. Experts of the martial saint realm, the peerless experts of the martial saint realm, and the peerless experts of the Emperor Wu realm only existed in legends. In this life, the experts that I know and heard of are not only dozens or even hundreds of times stronger than in my previous life, but the peerless experts of the martial saint realm and the peerless experts of the Emperor Wu realm have also appeared. Speaking of this, Howren's eyes showed a trace of confusion and asked, even if the environment of the previous life and this life has changed, the difference in cultivation and strength is too big. Fowling, this makes me feel like I am in a dream, as if everything that is happening now is fake and illusory. So that's how it is. After hearing Howren speak about the confusion in his heart, Fowling came to a sudden realization and praised with a satisfied smile on his face. Howren, the fact that you can notice this difference means that you already have the opportunity to comprehend the laws of truth, falsehood, void, and reality. After the fusion of the true, false, void, and corporeal laws, one will be able to obtain the void-shattering light that contains the law of destruction. In the face of Ta Cheng's praise and the possibility of comprehending 4 different laws, Howren didn't seem happy or excited at all. He only wanted to know whether he was living in reality or in a dream. This was also the main reason why his state of mind was unable to break through to the martial highness realm. Howren, you are now 100% living in the real world. Seeing that Howren was still depressed, Fowling knew that he was now confused by the confusion in his heart, and it would be difficult for him to break free with his own strength. Therefore, Fowling put away the smile on his face and said with a certain tone. Fowling's affirmative answer made Howren's confusion gradually recover a trace of clarity. However, the real reason that troubled him was the huge gap between the strength of the cultivators in his previous and current life. Seeing the confusion in Howren's eyes and the complete clarity of the future, Fowling knew that if he didn't truly solve the doubts in his heart, his achievements in this life would probably stop at the peak of the 9th grade martial saint. In order to avoid the tragic fate of being devoured by the mysterious yellow saber and the heaven refining flask in the future, and also to reconstruct a perfect body and obtain a new life, Fowling could only reveal the secret that he had always been unwilling to touch. Howren, do you know when your reincarnation started? Of course, it started when I woke up from my serious injuries. Howren replied in confusion. No. Shaking his head, Fowling took a deep breath and said, actually, the moment you were born, you had already completed the process of reincarnation. However, your memories of your previous life were always blocked by the power of the heavenly law, causing you to be unable to feel the feeling of being reborn, until the consciousness that was born in your body died due to serious injuries. The power of the heavenly law disappeared. Only then did you truly feel that you had been reborn. Fowling, even if my reincarnation started from the moment I was born, it has only been 17 or 18 years since my memories of my previous life awakened. Hearing Fowling's explanation of the time of his reincarnation, Howren still couldn't figure it out and asked, 17 or 18 years. Even if it was the reincarnation of an immortal god, the difference in strength between the previous life and the current life wouldn't be so great. Moreover, it's not just one person. It's everyone in the profound sky continent. Your suspicions are not wrong. Nodding, Fowling stood up and looked at the world outside the sea of consciousness. He said with a sigh, as an ancient tomb that can bury gods and demons, the demon god's ancient tomb contains a terrifying power that even the heavenly law doesn't dare to easily resist. After sighing, Fowling turned to look at Howren and asked, Howren, since your reincarnation, have you heard anyone mention the demon god's ancient tomb? His eyes suddenly widened. Yu Haoran suddenly realized that he had overlooked an important problem. After his reincarnation, not only did he not hear anyone mention the demon god's ancient tomb, but he also didn't find any records of the demon god's ancient tomb in the few sect treasure vaults that he had searched. This was completely different from the experience of his previous life. In his previous life, even in the ancient books of the sects, there was more or less some information about the demon god's ancient demon. In your previous life, after the demon god's ancient tomb exploded, the unimaginable, terrifying power not only allowed you and me to successfully reincarnate, but also allowed all the living beings in the entire profound sky continent to benefit from that power. And this is the real reason why you are puzzled. Boom! As Thaling solved the doubts that had been accumulating in his heart for a long time. The bottleneck that had been preventing him from breaking through his mental state cultivation was immediately broken through by a clear power. Accompanied by a low thunder roar from Yu Haoran's body, a mysterious power fluctuation slowly rose from his body. My mental state cultivation has broken through to the martial venerable realm. Hearing the deep thunder roar coming from Yu Haoran's body and seeing a calming power vibration rising from Yu Haoran's body, the tower spirit said to itself in surprise, "There are 5 key factors to breaking through to the martial venerable realm: mental state, physical body, soul power, primary energy, and law comprehension." Mental state, Yu Haoran has successfully broken through. Physical body, with the body of the witch ancestor and the inheritance of the memories of the 12 ancient witches. As long as he calms his heart and carefully feels the cultivation comprehension of the ancient witch ancestor, he will be able to break through to the martial venerable realm in 3 months to half a year. Soul power, according to the large number of soul stones that Yu Haoran obtained from the bottom of the Mirror Lake. As long as he uses the formation to extract soul power to assist his cultivation, he will be able to break through to the martial venerable realm in 4 months to 8 months. Primary energy, with the high-grade spirit stones that Yu Haoran has stored in more than 10 spiritual veins, he will be able to break through to the martial venerable realm in half a year. Chapter 11:21. In his knowledge sea, thinking of the 5 key factors to breaking through to the martial honorable realm and the fact that Yu Haoran could break through 4 of them in half a year, Thaling's heart was filled with uncontrollable joy. This was because the faster Yu Haoran's cultivation improved, the stronger he became, the faster he could explore the various ruins and forbidden areas, and then help him find the 5 elemental origins that could reconstruct his physical body. As the energy fluctuation that could calm one's mind gradually disappeared, Yu Haoran slowly opened his eyes. His expression was as calm as water, and there was no drastic change in his emotions because his mental state cultivation had successfully broken through to the martial honorable realm. Yu Haoran, do you know what you just experienced? Yu Haoran's overly calm reaction made Thaling somewhat unable to accept it. Of course I know. Nodding, Yu Haoran said in a flat tone, "My mental state cultivation has broken through to the martial, honorable realm. If that's the case, then why aren't you excited at all?" Thaling asked puzzledly. Thaling, among the 5 factors for breaking through to the martial, honorable realm, whether it's the physical body, origin power, or soul power, I'm confident that I can break through within half a year. If I use Victor's ability to accelerate time, I can even shorten the time to break through to half. But the comprehension of the dual laws of life and death. Speaking of this, Yu Haoran could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. Not to mention half a year, I'll be satisfied if I can reach the complete realm in 10 or even 20 years. So you're worried about the difficulty of comprehending the dual laws of life and death. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Thaling nodded in agreement, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face as he teased. "Yu Haoran, do you want to advance your law of life and law of death to the complete realm in the shortest time possible?" "Thaling, aren't you talking nonsense?" Hearing the hint of ridicule in Thaling's tone, Yu Haoran was overjoyed, but he couldn't help but roll his eyes and complain. "If I can advance the laws of life and death to perfection in the shortest amount of time possible, Then I can borrow the Hidden Dragon Providence obtained from the Hidden Dragon ranking competition to break through the martial honorable realm in one go and become a peerless expert that stands tall in the profound sky continent. Yu Haoran, after solving the crisis of the Blue Dragon clan's enforcers and the blood oath with the Guliang clan, I'll bring you to a special place. After hearing Yu Haoran's plan, or rather, his ambition, Thowling immediately stopped teasing him and reminded him with a solemn expression. That special place can allow your law of life and law of death to reach perfection. Where? Yu Haoran hurriedly asked. It's a secret for now. Thowling replied with a look of ridicule. Originally, he wanted to use the agreement that they couldn't keep secrets before Thowling went into hibernation to force him to reveal the specific location. However, his second clone, who had returned to the training room, used telepathy to tell him that someone had come to visit. Glaring at Thowling with dissatisfaction, Yu Haoran returned to the training room through the imprint in his sea of consciousness and received a jade scroll from his second clone. Pointing at the two young men whose life auras had completely disappeared, his second clone said, "The jade scroll contains detailed information about the Guliang clan from their memories. Brother Thowling, I'll have to trouble you." Yu Haoran nodded and thanked him as he put away the jade scroll in his hand. "I'll go have a chat with Thowling." With a wave of his hand, his second clone directly returned to his sea of consciousness. Looking at the door that he had smashed open, Yu Haoran shook his head apologetically and walked out of the training room. "Please come in." As he walked towards the pavilion, Yu Haoran gestured towards the courtyard door. As the courtyard door was pushed open, a middle-aged man walked in with an ingratiating smile. His appearance, clothes, temperament, and appearance were all very ordinary. Yu Jihua greets Yu Zongshi. Sitting upright on a stone chair, Yu Haoran asked with a slight frown, "Yu Jihua, who are you? What business do you have with me?" Replying to the great grandmaster, "I come from the Zhou clan in the central region. On the orders of my master, I have a message for you." Yu Jihua replied with a smile. "Speak." It turned out to be the expert, surnamed Zhou, who had traded the ghost face flower with him. After hearing Yu Jihua's reply, Yu Haoran, whose doubts were all gone, nodded, indicating that the other party could state the purpose of his visit. 108 medicinal herbs for refining supreme Huazuan pill. My master will gather them in half a month. I hope that Yu Zongshi can prepare to open the furnace and refine the pill. Yu Jihua put away the smile on his face and solemnly reminded him. Being able to gather 108 medicinal herbs for refining supreme Huazuan pill in half a month? After hearing Yu Jihua's reminder, Yu Haoran couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Although the origin of the Zhou clan was very mysterious and their strength was very strong, not losing to the 7 top sects in the slightest, being able to gather 108 medicinal herbs in half a month, especially the 9-tailed dragon sunflower as the main ingredient, was enough to show that the Zhou clan's foundation was deep, far beyond his imagination. Go back and tell your master that I, Yu Haoran, will keep the promise of the original deal. Calming down the surprise in his heart, Yu Haoran replied with an indifferent expression. If that's the case, then I'll take my leave first. After receiving Yu Haoran's reply, Yu Jihua cupped his fists and gestured, then turned around and left Yiyuan Pavilion. As the family that inherited the bloodline of Emperor Wu, the Guliang clan, one of the 3 hegemons of the southern region, was located in Leilang City. They were the master of the entire Leilang City and were in charge of the life and death of millions of people in the city. Leilang City was bordered by the Ganges River to the west, the Qinglin mountain range to the north, and the fertile plains to the east. It was a feng shui treasure land that occupied the water and mountains. Looking at the dozen young experts of the Guliang clan guarding the southern gate of the city, Yu Haoran's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. After observing the situation around him, Yu Haoran hid behind a big tree in a flash. After changing his appearance and aura through the use of medicinal pills, he leisurely rushed to the southern gate of the city. "What's your name? Where are you from?" When Yu Haoran arrived in front of the city gate, he was immediately blocked by a young man in his 20s. The young man had a fierce expression as he shouted. This old man's surname is Gue. I'm from Guangling City. Yu Haoran, who had disguised himself as a white-haired old man, looked disdainfully at the young man blocking him and said arrogantly, Could it be that you're from the Gue clan, one of the 4 great clans of Guangling City? After hearing Yu Haoran's arrogant introduction, the young man immediately withdrew his fierce expression and asked with a slightly fawning expression, What do you think? Coldly looking at the young man, Yu Haoran replied with a question and then strode into the city. Seeing the white-haired old man ignore him and stride into the city, the young man from the Guliang clan snorted in displeasure and mocked to himself. Chapter 1122. Leilang City. Yu Haoran felt a trace of admiration for the Guliang family's terrifying control over Leilang City as he looked at the hustle and bustle of the city, completely unaffected by the blood oath of fate. In his previous life, he had never been to Leilang City, so he wasn't clear about the layout of the city and the exact location of the Guliang family. Thus, he took out the jade slip containing the memories of the Guliang family's direct descendants through soul-searching and carefully read it with his mind. Through the records in the jade slip, Yu Haoran roughly familiarized himself with the situation of Leilang City and directly rushed to the Guliang family's mansion. It was different from the location of a normal family's mansion. The Guliang family's mansion wasn't located in the center of the city, but rather in the western district near the Ganges River, occupying the entire western district. Looking at the huge cluster of buildings before him, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh at the benefits of having a long inheritance. Fouling, according to the structure and location of the Guliang family's mansion, what kind of array do you think we should set up? Walking to the side of a green willow tree that wouldn't attract anyone's attention, Fouling reminded him in his consciousness. Emperor Wu's powerful mind quickly swept through the entire Guliang family's mansion. Fouling's eyes immediately revealed a trace of surprise. Yu Haoran, it seems that the ancestor of the Guliang family once had a grandmaster proficient in the art of geomancy. What do you mean? Yu Haoran, who was also proficient in the art of innate divination and familiar with geomancy, immediately asked with interest. He knew that, during his slumber, Yu Haoran had used Fushi's 8 trigrams to cultivate and become a powerful arcane master. Thus, Fouling was too lazy to explain too much. He directly used Emperor Wu's powerful mind to help him conceal the fluctuations of aura and indicated for him to observe by himself. Soaring into the sky above the Guliang family's mansion, he used his familiar geomancy to carefully observe the structure and layout of the entire mansion. Yu Haoran sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw the water of the Ganges River flowing through 9 different openings and into a man-made valley at the core of the mansion. 9 dragons surrounding the moon. That's right. After hearing Yu Haoran shout out the feng shui layout, the Fouling in the sea of consciousness nodded in agreement and further speculated. Yu Haoran, it seems like the Guliang family is quite ambitious. They actually want to use the 9 dragons surround the moon to gather the destiny of a city and cultivate an almighty expert on the level of Emperor Wu. No, in the face of Fouling's speculation and his own understanding of feng shui, Yu Haoran shook his head and gave a different opinion. Fouling, I don't think the Guliang family wants to cultivate an almighty expert like Emperor Wu. Instead, they want to use the 9 dragons encircle the moon feng shui formation to extract the fate of millions of living beings in Leilang City and use it to restore the vitality of their ancestors. Impossible. After hearing Yu Haoran's speculation, Fouling immediately shook his head and denied. To resurrect an almighty expert like Emperor Wu, not to mention gathering the fate of a city, even gathering the fate of all living beings in the southern region is impossible. Fouling, if you use the huge amount of fate accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years and then integrate it with the vitality of millions of people, then is there a possibility of success? Yu Haoran reminded with a cold smile. What do you mean? After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Fouling's expression changed, and he immediately used the powerful divine sense of Emperor Wu to re-examine the layout of the entire Leylang city. With the detailed observation of his divine sense, Thaling's expression gradually became gloomy, especially after he took the risk of using the extreme divine sense of Emperor Wu to sneak into the man-made valley. His expression became even more gloomy. Yu Haoran, your guess is correct. The Guiyang family is indeed trying to extract the vitality of millions of people in Leylang City to resurrect one of their ancestors, Emperor Wu, and a peak 9th grade martial revered ancestor. Afraid of attracting the attention of the Guiyang family's martial venerable, the pagoda spirit took a full 5 seconds to suppress the strong murderous intent in its heart. Then it gritted its teeth and confirmed. Pagoda spirit, think about it carefully. What kind of formation do we need to set up in order to completely destroy the Guiyang family that has already fallen into the evil path? Compared to Thaling's anger, Yu Haoran's reaction to the Guiyang family's evil method of resurrecting their ancestors was very calm. This was because in his previous life, he had seen more than once and even personally experienced methods that were several times more evil than the Guiyang family's. Golden Lock Bewitching Formation. Starlight 7 Slaughter Formation. Without any hesitation, the tower spirit gnashed its teeth as it spoke of the spirit formation it wanted to set up. After hearing the 2 formations that Thaling wanted to set up, Yu Haoran could not help but exclaim in surprise. Thaling, I did not expect your hatred for the Guiyang family to be so deep. Regardless of whether it was the Golden Lock Bewitching Formation or the Starlight 7 Slaughter Formation, they were all formations that could not be broken. If the Guiyang family's evil plan had not truly angered Thaling, according to his personality, he would not have set up such a formation. Yu Haoran, you continue to rise into the sky and hide in the clouds to adjust. My second clone, and I will set up the formation. Thaling did not respond to Yu Haoran's surprise question as he ordered without any hesitation. Okay. In response, Yu Haoran did not have any objections and continued to rise into the sky. When he was 10,000 meters above the Guiyang family, he used his divine sense to gather a few clouds and then sat cross-legged on the clouds to adjust his breathing. Thaling used Emperor Wu's powerful divine sense to help his second clone conceal the fluctuation of his aura and began to guide him on how to set up the Golden Lock Bewitching Formation and the Starlight 7 Slaughter Formation. After all, the annihilation of the Guiyang family was under the witness of the heavenly law. Yu Haoran had made a blood oath that Thaling could not interfere in the battle between the 2 parties. Just as Thaling was guiding his second clone to set up the formation, in a courtyard next to the Guiyang family's valley, the Guiyang family's patriarch, Guiyang Mingquan, 9 quasi-martial honorable elders, and 15 quasi-martial honorable hall masters were all standing in the courtyard. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on an early first-grade martial saint in a starlight robe, a middle-aged man in his 40s. At this moment, the middle-aged man's eyes were tightly shut and his left hand was holding a palm-sized turtle shell. When the middle-aged man slowly opened his eyes, Guiyang Mingquan immediately asked, Yushan, what's the result of the divination? Patriarch, Yu Haoran is also a powerful arcane master proficient in divination. He can interfere with and conceal his aura. Shaking his head, Guiyang Yushan replied with a tired expression. Chapter 1123. Guiyang Clan, in the mansion. Yushan, no matter what, Yu Haoran is a rare genius in Tianxin continent. Being able to deduce his exact whereabouts is enough to prove your achievements in Formula Dao cultivation. Seeing Guiyang Yushan's exhausted expression, Patriarch Guiyang Yanchuan comforted him with a gentle expression. As for how to find out Yu Haoran's exact location and complete the blood oath of the heavenly Dao, leave this to me. You can go and rest first. Patriarch, elders, Yute will take his leave first. After hearing Guiyang Mingchuan's comforting and instructions, Guiyang Yushan stopped his cultivation and got up. He then excused himself to everyone present and dragged his exhausted body out of the courtyard. Just now, in order to be able to deduce Yu Haoran's exact whereabouts and not show his incompetence in front of the patriarch. Gu Liang Yushan had secretly overdrawn nearly 100 years of his life force. 100 years of life force could be said to be an unbearable loss for Gu Liang Yushan, who only had a lifespan of 1,000 years. This was also the main reason why he looked so exhausted. After Gu Liang Yushan left the courtyard, the smile on Gu Liang Mingchuan's face was immediately replaced by seriousness. He looked at everyone in front of him and growled, "Elders and hall masters, Yu Haoran has killed his way into Leilang City. The real danger of our Guliang clan has arrived. What do you think we should do next? Patriarch, why don't we wake up Ancestor Great Horde in advance and let him use the divine sense of a martial venerable to track down Yu Haoran's exact location?" After hearing Gu Liang Mingchuan's interrogation, 7th Elder Gu Liang Jichuan, who was in charge of the clan's intelligence, immediately suggested, "No." Before Gu Liang Mingquan, the 3rd Elder Gu Liang Qingli, who was in charge of the clan's punishment, immediately objected. "Patriarch, Ancestor Great Horde's lifespan has reached its limit. If we wake him up now, it will not be suitable for the environmental restrictions of the birth of a martial venerable. It will directly reduce his lifespan by 2/3. At most, he will only be able to live until the end of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon rankings. Could it be that you have the heart to let an ancestor who used the secret method of Guwei Shi to survive for 10,000 years leave without a trace before he has even shown his true power as a martial venerable?" At this point, Gu Liang Qingli glanced at the 7th Elder and suggested with a sinister smile, "Patriarch, not only is old ancestor Li Jun stronger, but his lifespan is also nearly 200 years longer than old ancestor Yin Jun. According to this elder's opinion, why don't we awaken Ancestor Li Jun and let him use the divine sense of a martial venerable to track down and kill Yu Haoran, who is hiding in the city?" Gu Liang Qingli, what do you mean by that? Gu Liang Jichuan immediately turned hostile after hearing the 3rd Elder's sinister suggestion. Gu Liang Jichuan, what did you mean by that? Faced with the 7th Elder's question, Gu Liang Qingli also turned hostile and shouted back, "Old Ancestor Yin Jun was the direct ancestor of the 3rd Elder, and Old Ancestor Li Jun was the direct ancestor of the 7th Elder. Although for the sake of the ancestor's lifespan, not wanting them to awaken before the rules of the heavenly Tao were completely perfected was reasonable and showed their filial piety, in the face of the threat of extermination, they were still calculating their gains and losses. This made Gu Liang Mingquan, the patriarch, very disappointed and angry. Enough! Gu Liang Mingquan shouted angrily as he watched the quarrel between the 3rd Elder and the 7th Elder, who were about to kill each other at any time. Then, he looked at the 1st Elder and saw a trace of ruthlessness flashing in the 1st Elder's eyes. The idea in his heart immediately became firm. 3rd Elder, 7th Elder, as I said just now, Yu Haoran is a monstrous all-rounder that is rarely seen in 10,000 years. Not only is his martial arts outstanding, but he is also proficient in alchemy, formation, and formula Dao. He also has many trump cards in his hands. Gu Liang Mingchuan's fierce gaze swept across the 3rd Elder and the 7th Elder as he ordered unquestionably, "In order to successfully find and kill Yu Haoran, I have decided to awaken both old ancestors Yin Jun and Li Jun at the same time." After hearing Gu Liang Mingchuan's decision, a look of reluctance immediately appeared in the eyes of the 3rd Elder and the 7th Elder. But after seeing the coldness in Gu Liang Mingchuan's eyes, they could only reluctantly nod in agreement when they thought of the strongest ancestor who was sleeping in the clan. Since the 2 elders have no objections, then hurry up and wake up the 2 ancestors. Ignoring the reluctance in the eyes of the 3rd Elder and the 7th Elder, Gu Liang Mingquan immediately ordered. Looking at the 2 elders who turned to leave the courtyard, Gu Liang Mingquan looked back at the crowd coldly and said in a serious tone, "The 2 ancestors who have been sleeping for 10,000 years are about to reach the end of their lifespan. In order to let them live longer, try not to disturb them if possible." At this point, Gu Liang Mingchuan's tone changed, and he suddenly raised his voice to order. "So, Immediately take your confidants who are martial emperors and martial sages and search the entire city for Yu Hauran's whereabouts. Tell your confidants that if they can release the whereabouts of Yu Hauran, I will reward them handsomely. If they can kill Yu Hauran, I will not only reward them handsomely, but I will also let the 3 old ancestors who are martial venerables personally guide them in their cultivation, so that they will have the hope of breaking through to the martial venerable realm. Yes, sir. In the face of Gu Liang Mingquan's promise, the elders and hall masters did not show the slightest excitement. After listlessly responding to the order, they turned and left the courtyard. Have you thought it through, Patriarch? The first elder, the only one who did not leave the courtyard, stepped to Gu Liang Mingquan's side and asked hesitantly, Uncle, I have already thought it through. Nodding heavily, Gu Liang Mingquan said with great annoyance. Over the years, the 3rd Elders and the 7th Elders factions have relied on the 2 old ancestors who are in deep slumber to not only seize more and more resources, but also have the ambition to compete for the throne. Pointing to the elders and hall masters who were not in high spirits, Gu Liang Mingquan said with a strong, murderous look in his eyes, Look at these elders and hall masters who have been roped in. They're now only thinking about their own selfish interests. They don't care about the life and death of the family at all. Taking a deep breath, Gu Liang Mingquan looked at the first elder and continued with a sneer on his face. The blood oath Yu Hauran made under the rules of the Heavenly Tao is a disaster for our Gu Liang clan, but it is also a chance for a phoenix to be reborn from the ashes. As long as we awaken the 2 old ancestors, Great Horde and Li Jun, regardless of whether the last 2 old ancestors take action or not, they will only have about half a year to live at most. As long as Great Horde and Li Jun die, I will make everyone in the 3rd Elders and the 7th Elders factions disappear and completely eliminate the hidden dangers for the family. Chapter 1124. In the mansion of the Gu Liang family. He understood Gu Liang Mingquan's painstaking efforts for the development of the family, but the first elder was more worried about the other ancestor who was in a deep sleep. Although that ancestor was nominally an ancestor of their line, the first elder knew very well that they were not as close as imagined due to the gap of more than 10 generations. Moreover, Ancestor Dao Cheng was the descendant of Ancestor Great Horde and Ancestor Li Jun, so the relationship between them was far better than the direct descendants. Therefore, the first elder was worried that after Ancestor Dao Cheng woke up, he would blame Gu Liang Mingquan for the departure of the 2 elders at the same time. Don't worry, first uncle, because Ancestor Dao Cheng will never wake up. Hearing the first elder's worry, Gu Liang Mingquan said with a slightly ferocious expression, Don't say that Ancestor Dao Cheng will never wake up. If Ancestor Great Horde and Ancestor Li Jun survive the Hidden Dragon rankings, then they will contribute the last bit of strength in their lives to the true rise of the Gu Liang family, just like Ancestor Dao Cheng. Mingquan, you're thinking. Looking at the ferocious expression and excited tone of Gu Liang Mingquan, a crazy idea flashed through the first elder's mind. You're right, first uncle. The first elder's surprised tone and a trace of understanding flashed across his face, letting Gu Liang Mingquan know that the first elder had guessed his thoughts, so he did not hide anything. According to Yushan's calculation, using the innate divination technique, the moment the 5 regions' hidden dragon rankings ends, the heavenly Tao will be completely perfected. At that time, the environment of heaven and earth will gradually be suitable for the birth of peerless experts of the martial venerable realm and Emperor Wu realm experts. Speaking of this, Gu Liang Mingquan's face revealed a crazy expression. The moment the 5 regions' hidden dragon rankings ends, I will activate the blood sacrifice technique, together with the 3 ancestors and the millions of living beings in the entire Leilang city, to resurrect the ancestor who founded our Gu Liang family. Taking a deep breath and suppressing the madness in his heart, Gu Liang Mingquan said excitedly to the first elder, First uncle, if we have the Emperor Wu realm ancestors' protection and guidance, not only can you and I break through the martial venerable realm more easily, but we also have a great chance of becoming Emperor Realm experts. After all, my ancestor was a quasi-god who almost broke through to the martial god realm. Ming Quan, do it boldly and at ease. First uncle will always support and help you. The first elder also felt joy in his heart as he excitedly encouraged Ming Quan. Yu Haoran, it seems like your conjecture is correct. The Guiyang clan is planning to use the blood sacrifice of millions of lives in Leilang City to revive the founder of the Guiyang clan, Emperor Wu. While instructing his second doppelganger to set up the extermination array, Faling also used his powerful divine sense to monitor every movement in the mansion. He also happened to hear the conversation between Gu Yang Mingquan and the Great Elder. Although Faling had already guessed the evil plan of the Gu Yang family, he was unwilling to believe that there would be such a deranged person in this world. Now, when he heard the Gu Yang clan's clan leader admitted himself, and was not even willing to let go of his clan's two martial, honorable ancestors, Faling was incomparably furious. At the same time, a chill rose in his heart. Frowning slightly, Yu Haoran pondered for a while and asked in confusion, Faling, as someone who has existed since ancient times, you must have seen more evil scenes than this. It's just the blood sacrifice of millions of lives. Is it worth it for you to be so angry? After hearing Yu Haoran's question, Faling was slightly stunned. His eyes revealed a trace of confusion. Then, he closed his eyes and carefully checked his condition. Half an hour later, Faling opened his eyes and turned his head to look at his original body, the victor, with a complicated look in his eyes. Faling, what happened to you? When Faling looked at his original body, Yu Haoran had a strange thought in his heart. It seemed that there was a problem between him and his original body, the victor. He could not help but ask, Yu Haoran, don't ask and don't use our previous agreement to force me, okay? Faling turned his head, with a trace of reluctance and a trace of relief in his eyes. Okay. Yu Haoran had never seen such a complicated look in Faling's eyes. Although he was eager to know what happened, he finally chose to respect Faling's request and did not continue to ask about the reason for the change in his body. Then, Yu Haoran closed his eyes and adjusted his condition. At the same time, he thought about his plan of driving the tiger to devour the wolf to see if there were any flaws in it. Faling returned to his original body, the victor, and stared blankly at the victor. No one knew what he was thinking. Boom! Just as Yu Haoran was perfecting his plan, a terrifying aura suddenly rose from the Guiyang clan's mansion below the clouds. This terrifying aura directly shattered all the clouds within tens of thousands of meters above the mansion. Fortunately, Faling felt the terrifying aura in time and immediately used his powerful divine sense to help him conceal the fluctuation of his aura. He did not let the terrifying aura discover anything unusual. Faling, this is the aura of a martial venerable. Yu Haoran asked with some fear as he carefully felt the destructive power contained in the aura just now. Although it is the aura of a martial venerable, is only the cultivation of a martial venerable. Facing Yu Haoran's fear, Faling said with disdain, if you use the possession technique, you'll have a 70% chance of killing him with the laws of time has a scar and blossoms fall. Moreover, according to the speed of the aura, just now, the old guy who just woke up will not live for long. As Faling finished his disdainful evaluation of the martial venerable who just woke up, another aura that was slightly stronger than before rose from the mansion below the clouds. It is also an old guy who will not live for long. Facing the rise of the second aura, Faling's evaluation was still very disdainful. Both of them are at the peak of the third tribulation quasi-martial venerable. Just as the second aura in the mansion below the clouds was retracted, Faling was about to remind Yu Haoran to leave this place. Suddenly, a familiar aura came from the surveillance formation in the Yuan Pavilion of the Twin Ox Mountain. After carefully observing the origin of the familiar aura through the surveillance formation, Faling reminded Yu Haoran. Faling, could it be the enforcer of the Blue Dragon clan? Yu Haoran asked nervously with a hint of excitement. That's right. Nodding his head, Thowling looked in the direction of the twin ox mountain through the space in the sea of consciousness and reminded him. Chapter 1125. In the clouds above the mansion, 2 hours. After hearing the time given by Thowling, Howren calculated carefully. Then, he immediately flew away from the clouds above the mansion and followed the direction of the Twin Ox Mountain. After flying for about 1,000 miles, he finally stood on a cloud. Howren, as a member of the Blue Dragon clan who possesses the bloodline of the ancient Blue Dragon guardian beast, the Enforcer not only has terrifying strength, but also excels in speed. Thowling could not help but remind Howren when he saw that the location of the Enforcer of the Blue Dragon clan was too far away from the Goulion clan's mansion. 1,000 miles away is too risky. It's safer to be closer. Thowling, 1,000 miles distance is just right. Shaking his head, Howren chuckled as he took out a pill bottle from his storage ring. Seeing Howren take out a pill for no reason, Thowling asked with interest, Howren, what's this pill bottle? Without answering Thowling's question, Howren directly opened the pill bottle. Then, a pungent smell wafted out from the pill bottle. This seems to be the divine dragon blood essence used to activate the Four Symbols concentration formation in the storage ring of the Four Symbols sect leader. Although he could not smell the pungent smell coming from the pill bottle, Thowling could guess the origin of the divine dragon blood essence after it was purified and fused with different types of divine dragon blood essence in the pill bottle. Nodding his head, Howren took out the Blue Dragon's Four Symbols formation flag from his storage ring. A strange smile appeared on his face. Howren, since you want to borrow the power of the Heavenly Way to eliminate the Enforcer of the Blue Dragon clan and the peerless martial honorable of the Goulion clan, why do you have to do this? When he saw Howren take out the divine dragon blood essence and the Blue Dragon formation flag, Thowling, who knew what Howren wanted to do, asked in confusion. Thowling, no matter what, the Goulion family is a powerful family with hundreds of thousands of years of history. Perhaps they know about the Blue Dragon family that is a guardian family. Howren sat cross-legged on the cloud and placed the pill bottle and array flag in front of him. He took a deep breath and said, the law enforcers of the Blue Dragon clan can transform into a blue dragon. Their characteristics are too obvious. I'm worried that the Goulion clan will be too afraid of the power of the Blue Dragon clan and will ultimately choose to tolerate and explain. If that's the case, I definitely won't be able to use the power of the Heavenly Tao to achieve my goal of killing the Blue Dragon clan's enforcer. If I use the divine dragon blood essence and the formation to transform into a blue dragon, then take the initiative to provoke and attack them, the enraged Goulion clan will definitely retaliate. As long as they can fight, the punishment of the Heavenly Tao will appear. Okay, we'll act according to your plan. Howren's plan could be said to have considered all aspects. In this regard, Thowling nodded and agreed to his plan. He immediately used Emperor Wu's divine sense and began to control the area within a radius of 10,000 miles so that he could discover the Blue Dragon clan's enforcers in the first moment. Then, he would let Howren use the divine dragon blood essence and the formation flag in time to execute the plan of driving the tiger to devour the wolf. Time passed by minute. Howren, the Blue Dragon clan's enforcers are here. The enforcers, who originally needed 2 hours to reach Leylang City, only took 1.5 hours to appear in the area controlled by Thowling's divine sense. This also indirectly proved that the true strength of the two enforcers of the Azure Dragon clan was definitely far greater than their cultivations. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He then swallowed the divine dragon blood essence in the elixir bottle and directly executed the Four Symbols concentration formation. After the execution of the formation, the two enforcers from the Blue Dragon clan also appeared in Howren's extended divine sense. Two little green insects from the Green Insect clan. You want to kill me? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourselves? Are you qualified? While using the formation flag to transform into the Blue Dragon, Howren used his divine sense to humiliate and provoke them verbally. Sinful person, how dare you humiliate the Guardian clan? You deserve to die. After hearing Yu Haoran's humiliating words, the two enforcers from the Blue Dragon clan were instantly furious. When they saw Yu Haoran transform into the Blue Dragon and provoke them by waving his dragon tail, they were even more furious. The enforcer who had also transformed into the Blue Dragon roared and chased after him with a murderous aura. After turning his head to look at the two Blue Dragon that were exactly the same as him and emitting a strong murderous aura, Yu Haoran secretly exclaimed that the heavens were helping him. Then, he sped up and rushed to the Guliang clan in Leilang City. Although they had both transformed into the Blue Dragon, Yu Haoran used the divine dragon blood essence and the formation to transform, while the two enforcers used the Blue Dragon bloodline in their bodies. Therefore, the difference in speed between them was quickly revealed. In this regard, Yu Haoran did not panic at all. Instead, he used his divine sense to humiliate and provoke them from time to time. You two little green worms, I have the protection of a martial honorable. If you have the guts, come and kill me. If you don't have the guts, then crawl back obediently for yours truly. Yu Haoran, you have committed a heinous crime. You deserve to die 1,000 times and be hacked into 1,000 pieces. After hearing Yu Haoran's humiliating and provoking words, the strongest enforcer clenched his teeth and scolded him. However, it was a pity that the law enforcement officers, who lacked experience in verbal confrontations, could only say the same few sentences back and forth that could not infuriate anyone. Brother Gio, stop scolding. Let's quickly catch up to that kid and use the clan's torture methods to let him know the consequences of insulting us. Another law enforcement officer immediately reminded his comrade who had slowed down due to the constant insults. All right. The enforcer who was called Brother Gio responded and continued to increase his speed to chase after Yu Haoran. When he was less than 10 miles away from the Guliang clan's mansion, Yu Haoran directly burned all the divine dragon blood essence in his body in exchange for the extreme speed of the Blue Dragon. Then, he used his divine sense to shout at the corners of the mansion. Cowards of the Guliang clan, I, Yu Haoran, am here. Come out quickly and accept your death. After hearing Yu Haoran shout using his divine sense, the Guliang clan, which had just calmed down, suddenly panicked. Then, experts and powerhouses with powerful auras quickly rose into the sky one after another. Yu Haoran, there's a road to heaven, but there's no door to hell. Guliang Yueqiang, who had a conflict with Yu Haoran before, immediately said with a sinister smile when he saw Yu Haoran, who had returned to his original appearance. However, before he could finish his threat, he was interrupted by Yu Haoran's scornful sarcasm. Chapter 1126. In a mansion of the Guliang clan. After diverting the trouble to someone else, Yu Haoran took advantage of the fact that the experts of the Guliang clan who had ascended into the sky had their attention on the two azure dragons that were following closely behind to rush into the Guliang clan's mansion. Then, he sped up and rushed towards the courtyard where the martial revered expert was cultivating. Just two little worms. How dare you try to destroy my Guliang clan? Looking at the two blue dragon that were quickly chasing after him, Guliang Yueqiang sneered with disdain. Master, I think you're really tired of living. Accompanied by a mocking shout, Guliang Yueqiang, who had taken out his natal sword, directly performed a heaven-level sword technique and slashed at the blue dragon that was rushing to the front. The other martial royal and martial sage powerhouses of the Guliang clan joined forces to attack the second blue dragon that was behind. The law enforcers of the Blue Dragon clan, who had been blinded by anger, did not notice the abnormality in front of them at all. Seeing that someone dared to take the initiative to attack him, the blue dragon that was rushing to the front opened its huge dragon mouth and spat out a mass of dragon saliva that contained a huge amount of energy and exuded an extremely high temperature at Guliang Yueqiang. At the same time, the swaying dragon tail directly met the sharp sword chi that was slashing at him. Boom! The swaying dragon tail was the first to shatter the sharp sword chi formed by Guliang Yueqiang's heaven-level sword technique. Boom! The dragon saliva that contained the peak power of a third tribulation quasi-martial venerable directly blasted Gu Liang Yueqiang into countless particles. Boom! The second blue dragon that was attacked by many powerhouses and powerhouses also spat out a mouthful of dragon saliva and swayed its dragon tail to block everyone's attacks. Accompanied by a strong roar, the 7 martial sages and 11 martial royal powerhouses that were attacking together were also blasted into powder by the dragon saliva that was spat out. Who dares to kill my clansmen of the Guliang clan? Just as the 2 law enforcers of the Blue Dragon clan easily killed Gu Liang Yueqiang and the others, a terrifying aura suddenly came from the depths of the mansion. Accompanied by the terrifying aura, a white-haired old man with 1 foot in the grave instantly appeared in front of the law enforcers. Guliang clan, what is your relationship with Yu Haoran? The enforcer quickly returned to his original form and took out his natal magic artifact, a stone seal the size of a fist. Then, he looked nervously at the white-haired old man and asked. After all, the white-haired old man who had suddenly appeared before him was a genuine martial honorable. You still haven't answered me. Why did you slaughter my clansmen just now? Looking at the 2 blue dragon law enforcers who had returned to their original forms, the white-haired old man's cold voice made Gu Liang Mingquan and the other elders who had rushed over feel a chill in their hearts. I'm Xianjiu, he's Xianshi. We're enforcers from one of the 4 great guardian families, the Blue Dragon family. Seeing another martial saint appear beside the white-haired old man, the enforcer who called himself Xianjiu temporarily put away the arrogance in his heart and introduced himself in detail. After hearing Xianjiu's introduction, the 2 white-haired old men who were martial honorables, Guliang Mingquan, and the other elders who were quasi-martial honorables, had a tinge of fear in their eyes. After all, the Guliang clan, which had existed for hundreds of thousands of years, not only knew about the 4 great guardian families of the Tianxian continent, but they had also fought side by side with them. They were familiar with and understood the power and terror of the Blue Dragon family. Greetings to the 2 respected law enforcers. I'm Gu Liang Yanjun. Gu Liang Yanjun's cold voice was replaced by a gentle tone as he greeted them respectfully. Then, Gu Liang Yanjun asked in confusion, Respected law enforcers, may I ask why you attacked my Guliang clan? Yu Haoran has violated the rules of heaven and committed a heinous crime. We're here on Elder Ao Xian's order to arrest him. Seeing the change in attitude of the crowd, Xianjiu rekindled his pride and spoke arrogantly like a deity from the 9 heavens. Then, Xianjiu looked coldly at the people of the Guliang clan and shouted, Tell me, what's the relationship between you and Yu Haoran? Respected law enforcers, please don't misunderstand. Yu Haoran has nothing to do with our Guliang clan. Seeing that Xianjiu had misunderstood the relationship between the Guliang clan and Yu Haoran, Gu Liang Mingquan, the patriarch, quickly stepped forward to explain. Then why did you stop us from arresting Yu Haoran just now? Gu Liang Mingquan's explanation did not dispel the suspicion in Xianjiu's heart. He still questioned them coldly. Misunderstanding, it's definitely a misunderstanding. Thinking of Gu Liang Yueqiang and the others who had been killed by Xianjiu and Xianshi, Gu Liang Mingquan could not be bothered to explain. In fact, we and Yu Haoran have a life and death relationship. Because 9 days ago, Yu Haoran used the rules of the Heavenly Tao to immediately swear an oath with our Guliang clan that he would not rest until he was dead. What did you just say? Xianjiu's face changed when he heard Gu Liang Mingquan mention the blood oath. What blood oath? Respected enforcers, I said. Before Gu Liang Mingquan could finish his explanation, the sky above the mansion suddenly darkened. Accompanied by the darkening sky, a single emotionless eye slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The originally emotionless lone eye, upon seeing Xianjiu and Xianshi floating in the air above the mansion, actually showed a trace of anger in his eyes. Following that, 2 purple lightning bolts as thick as a thumb shot towards Xianjiu and Xianshi. Xianshi, hurry back to the clan. Seeing the purple lightning bolts shot out by the eye, Xianzhou's face changed drastically. He immediately transformed into the blue dragon and shouted at Xianshi. Seeing that Xianzhou and Xianshi had transformed into the blue dragon and were planning to escape, the anger in the eye intensified. The speed of the two purple lightning bolts increased. "You Howren, how dare you trick us?" Just as the purple lightning bolts shot towards the blue dragon and began to destroy his vitality, Xianzhou roared to the sky with grief and indignation. Boom! Accompanied by the angry roar and the sound of thunder, the two blue dragons, who had transformed into more than 1,000 meters long, instantly turned into dust under the bombardment of the purple lightning bolts. Seeing the single eye in the void and the purple lightning bolts that had just killed the enforcers, Gu Liang Yanjun and Gu Liang Lijun, who were in the martial venerable realm, immediately cast a sealing spell and quickly suppressed their cultivation to the 9th level of the martial saint realm. Glancing coldly at Gu Liang Yanjun and Gu Liang Lijun, the anger in the single eye gradually disappeared into the void. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the depths of the Gu Liang clan's mansion, shaking the earth and mountains. Chapter 11:27. In the void, the one-eyed man, who was about to disappear, seemed to have sensed a naked provocation when he sensed the rising martial venerable aura in the mansion. He cast his cold eyes directly into the depths of the mansion. "Now that you've succeeded, immediately perform the sealing technique and seal your cultivation base to the martial saint realm." Sensing the one-eyed man reappearing in the void, Guliang Yanjun, who was speeding toward the depths of the mansion, reminded loudly, "Third Grandpa, I don't know what's going on, but there's a special energy that not only prevents me from sealing my cultivation base, but my yuan energy and soul power are also increasing exponentially." After hearing Guliang Yanjun's reminder, Guliang Daoqing's panicked voice rang out from a pavilion in the depths of the mansion. After hearing Guliang Daoqing's panicked explanation, Guliang Yanjun's body suddenly came to a halt, and he reached out to stop Li Jun. "Third brother, what are you doing?" Looking at Guliang Yanjun, who had reached out to stop her, Li Jun asked in puzzlement. "This is a trap for us three martial venerables," Guliang Yanjun reminded with a grave expression. And just as Guliang Yanjun's solemn expression reminded them, Yu Haoren, who was holding 2 red pills behind a willow tree below them, had a mocking look in his eyes. "Old man, although you're very vigilant, it's too late for you to react now." He wrapped the 2 red pills with his soul power and yuan energy, and by the time Guliang Yanjun and Li Jun reacted, the red pills had already flown to their side. "Dod!" Guliang Yanjun, who had a bad feeling, warned Li Jun when he saw the red pills flying quickly to his side. Just as he was about to dodge the 2 red pills exploded in an instant. Boom! Boom! As the 2 red pills exploded, a river of blood instantly formed and directly enveloped Guliang Yanjun and Li Jun. "Damn it!" Guliang Yanjun cursed inwardly as he felt the blood-colored energy fusing into his body. While madly increasing his strength, it also began to attack the seal that suppressed his cultivation base. He then began to think of ways to guide the constantly increasing strength in his body. Fouling, the plan is a success. Prepare the Golden Lock Bewitching Formation and the Starlight 7 Kills Formation. Seeing Guliang Yanjun and Li Jun shrouded in the river of blood, Yu Haoren's face revealed a look of pleasant surprise and reminded Thaling in his sea of consciousness. "Yu Haoren, I've taught my second doppelganger to activate the Golden Lock Bewitching Formation and Starlight 7 Kills Formation." Thaling, who entered the victor in advance to avoid the Heavenly Tao, to bewitching formation. "Yes." Guliang Yanto Lidos, to the bewitching to the bewitching to the end too. At this moment, the eye in the sky seemed to sense the provocation. It shot out a bolt of violet lightning that was as thick as an arm. Not only did it reduce Gu Liang Daochang to dust, but even the pavilion he was in was obliterated by the violet lightning, leaving behind a bottomless black hole. This was enough to show how furious the heavenly Daos I was. After killing Guliang Daocheng, who dared to provoke it, and leaving behind the means to demonstrate its power, the anger in the heavenly Daos I slowly dissipated as it merged into the void. But at this moment, from the river of blood formed by the explosion of the red elixir, two powerful martial honorable realm auras erupted one after another. The heavenly Dao's eye, which had been repeatedly provoked, was completely enraged. The endless anger in its eye was replaced by flashing purple lightning. After leaving the eye, the countless purple lightning bolts transformed into purple dragons. The purple dragons roared and rushed toward the Guliang clan's mansion, roaring to every corner of the Tianxin continent. 3 seconds. Regardless of whether they were from the direct bloodline or from the collateral bloodline, as long as they belonged to the Guliang clan, they completely disappeared from the Tianxin continent in just 3 seconds. Yu Haoran stared blankly at Guliang Mingquan and the others who were killed by the purple lightning. Disbelief appeared in his eyes. According to the blood oath of fate, shouldn't he be the one to kill the Guliang clan? Why would the heavenly Daos take the initiative to attack for him? Moreover, it eliminated all the hidden dangers so cleanly. Fouling, what's going on? After the heavenly Daos had completely merged into the void, Yu Haoran asked Fouling, who had left the victor and appeared in his consciousness. Although the heavenly Daos did not have its own consciousness, as an existence that represents the heavens, it has its own instincts. Fouling smiled bitterly and shook his head as he explained, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Yu Haoran, if you're continuously provoked by others, will you feel angry? Will you want to kill them? Yes. Nodding in agreement, Yu Haoran pointed at the remnant aura of the divine thunder in the mansion and asked in a puzzled tone, Tower Spirit, after being provoked time and time again, although I will also go on a killing spree, I will only kill those who provoke me. I will definitely not implicate other innocent people. Yu Haoran, this is the difference between humans and rules. Fouling used Emperor Wu's powerful divine sense to search the Gu Liang clan's treasury and sighed. Although humans can be impulsive sometimes, they're still very rational and emotional most of the time. But for the cold rules, they only have one principle: right and wrong, life and death. It's simple but cruel. Yu Haoran, 9 miles to the southwest, is the Guliang clan's treasury. Just as he was sighing about the difference between humans and rules, Fouling's divine sense discovered the treasury's location. At the same time, Yu Haoran put away his doubts and immediately used his movement technique to quickly rush to the treasury. Anyway, the Guliang clan's people were all dead, and the array Fouling activated just now could prevent others from entering. Therefore, facing the green treasury door that required a special key to open, Yu Haoran's approach was simple and crude. He directly took out his purple staff, and the purple staff instantly grew long and heavily smashed the treasury door. Boom! Contrary to Yu Haoran's expectations, the staff technique that he used with all his strength actually did not break open the treasury's green door. Mobilizing all his elemental energy and soul power, the staff technique that he used with all his strength for the second time accurately hit the position of the attack just now. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening roar, Yu Haoran was surprised to find that the treasury's green door was still standing. Chapter 1128. In the mansion, in front of the treasury. What a waste! Yu Haoran had used all his strength to display the staff technique. Its power had reached the peak of the 8th grade martial saint realm, which was enough to shatter an Emperor realm defensive artifact. However, the green door in front of him was not only not shattered, but also did not even leave a scratch on it. This immediately aroused Fouling's great interest. As soon as his powerful divine sense entered the green door and discovered the material used to refine the door, Fouling immediately complained bitterly. Levitation green gold. This is a top refining material that can be used to refine a supreme grade martial Emperor realm artifact. Not only does it come from the endless void, but it is also very rare. Now it has been refined into the door of the treasury by a group of prodigal sons of the Guliang family. Are they trying to anger me to death? Thaling, do you have a way to open this door? Compared to Thaling's complaints about the material used to refine the levitation green gold, Yuharan was more concerned about whether he could open the green door that was blocking him from entering the treasury. After all, the fact that the levitation green gold, which was used to refine a supreme grade martial Emperor realm artifact, was enough to prove the preciousness of the treasures in the treasury. Yes, Thaling put away the pain in his heart and responded straightforwardly. He immediately mobilized his divine sense and began to refine the levitation green gold in the green door using the refining method. Originally, the green door could not even be scratched by the staff technique of the peak of the 8th grade martial saint realm. However, under the refining of Thaling's divine sense, it quickly softened and gradually began to melt. When a crack appeared on the green door that was gradually melting, streams of pure spiritual liquid flowed out from the crack. Without any hesitation, he took out a green gourd from his storage ring and sucked the spiritual liquid that flowed out from the crack into the gourd. As the green door melted faster and faster, the crack that appeared became bigger and bigger. The spiritual liquid that was originally flowing slowly, quickly, turned into a rapid waterfall. As a result, Yuharan had to use all his strength to speed up the collection of spiritual liquid that rushed out of the treasury. Withdraw. When only half of the green door was left, the Thaling in the knowledge sea retracted its spirit fire and quickly formed a seal with its 10 fingers, forcibly sucking the half-refined green door into the victor. Without the obstruction of the green door, the spiritual liquid surged forward like a surging wave, directly pushing Yuharan, who was standing in front of the treasury, back a few steps. Thaling, help me collect the spirit liquid. Yuharan watched as the spirit liquid rushed out of the treasury and quickly turned into spirit chi that was invisible to the naked eye. He had no time to continue collecting more spirit liquid. After reminding the Thaling in his knowledge, he instantly rushed into the spirit liquid on the first floor of the treasury. After that, he gestured his clone to quickly set up a formation to extract the soul energy from the soul stones. After that, he started to use the pure spiritual liquid that was like an ocean to improve his cultivation and physical body grade. The pure spiritual liquid and the endless soul energy not only allowed Yuharan's cultivation to instantly break through to the early 5th grade martial saint, but his physical body grade, which had been stagnant for a long time, also advanced to the mid-3rd grade martial saint. Without the green door to prevent the loss of the spirit liquid that had accumulated for thousands or even tens of thousands of years was completely lost in less than 10 minutes. However, in less than 10 minutes, Yuharan's cultivation had not only directly advanced to the mid-6th grade martial saint, but his physical body grade had also advanced to the early 5th grade martial saint. With the help of the remaining pure spirit chi in the treasury, Yuharan simply stabilized his cultivation and physical body grade after his breakthrough. Then, he stopped cultivating and stood up. Yuharan, the pure spirit liquid that I collected just now is enough to help your cultivation reach the peak of the 9th grade martial saint. Thaling, who had finished collecting the spirit liquid and used his divine sense to check the amount of spirit liquid in the gourd, said happily to Yuharan. However, Yuharan, who had stopped cultivating and stood up, did not give any response to Thaling. This was because at this moment, he was already stunned by the spirit veins that were placed on the wooden shelves in the first level of the treasury. 1 spirit vein, 10, 20. Taking a few deep breaths, Yuharan forcibly suppressed the ecstasy in his heart and started to check the number of spirit veins on the wooden shelves. In the end, the total number of spirit veins was close to 200. Among them, there were a total of 93 spirit veins from the lower 9th grade to the upper 9th grade, 62 spirit veins from the lower 8th grade to the upper 9th grade, and 21 spirit veins from the lower 7th grade to the upper 9th grade. There were even 9 spirit veins from the lower 6th grade to the upper 9th grade. However, What made Howard ecstatic was that on the jade platform in the deepest part of the treasury's first level, there was a spirit vein that had its consciousness erased and was at the lower 5th grade. Howard, according to the amount of spirit stones and spirit veins, as well as the speed of absorbing spirit chi, it would take at least half a year for your spirit chi to reach the peak of the 9th grade martial saint. Thaling, who had checked the spirit vein with Howard and kept it, couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the lower 5th grade spirit vein that was covered with more than 10 spirit veins. Now, even if you don't use the Victor Spirit's ability to accelerate time, with just this lower 5th grade spirit vein, you can reach the peak of the 9th grade martial saint in at least half a month, and at most a month. After keeping the sealed lower 5th grade spirit vein into the Victor spirit vein, Howard suddenly changed the topic and asked, Thaling is the place where the laws of life and death can be improved far from the Twin Bull Mountain. If you travel day and night, it would take about 7 days. According to Howard's flying speed, Thaling calculated a little and gave an approximate time. Thaling, how long would it take to improve the laws of life and death? Howard continued to ask. If you're lucky, it might only take 5 or 6 days. Considering Howard's shocking comprehension ability and the heaven-defying opportunity that could appear at any time in that place, Thaling also gave an approximate time limit. If your luck is average, it might take half a month. Thaling, after I've refined the Supreme Transformation Pill for Zhou, I'll immediately head to the place you mentioned. Even if his luck was average, it would take half a month to improve his comprehension of the laws of life and death. Adding the time needed to travel back and forth, it would take less than a month in total. It wouldn't delay his return to Xianyang City and participate in Emperor Qin's training in the Secret Realm. Therefore, Howard decided to head to a place where he could improve the laws of life and death. Chapter 1129. In the first level of the Gu Liang family's treasure vault, there are 3 reasons. In the first level of the Gu Liang family's treasure vault, there were almost 200 spiritual veins of different grades and a large number of level 4 and level 5 spiritual stones. Therefore, Howard was collecting a large number of spiritual stones as he explained Thaling's question. The first reason is to avoid the limelight for now. After his alchemy skills had broken through to the alchemy Grandmaster realm, although he had admitted in front of everyone that he could refine the level 3, level 1 supreme Hua Xiao pill, many people were skeptical. After all, there had not been an alchemist in the Tianxian continent who could refine the level 3, level 1 supreme Hua Xiao pill for almost 10,000 years. He was not even 20 years old, and his alchemy skills had just reached the alchemy Grandmaster realm. Those experienced people would not believe that he could refine the supreme Hua Xiao pill. If he succeeded in refining the level 3, level 1 supreme Hua Xiao pill for Zhou Badong, it would cause an uproar that would sweep through every corner of the Tianxian continent and alert all the experts who were cultivating in seclusion. In a short period of time, the number of people who wanted to refine the supreme Hua Xiao pill could fill up the entire Twin Bull Mountain. Therefore, after successfully refining the level 3, level 1 supreme Hua Xiao pill, he would immediately leave the Twin Bull Mountain. Not only could he avoid being disturbed, he could also reduce the uproar caused by the successful refining of the pill. What's the second reason? Thaling agreed with Howard's speculation about the consequences of refining the level 3, level 1 supreme Hua Xiao pill. Therefore, he wanted to know what the second reason was. The second reason is to avoid the other 3 of the 4 guardian families. After a period of time of Thaling's introduction of the guardian families, Howard knew that the 4 guardian families were very close to each other. They had basically reached the stage where they were in each other's company. Due to the influence of the Heavenly Way, although the Azure Dragon clan would not be able to continue sending out powerful enforcers to kill him in a short period of time, the other 3 clans that did not suffer any losses would probably be the same as the Azure Dragon clan. They would still be able to send out 2 or 3 peak 3rd Tribulation quasi-martial saints. Moreover, With the lesson of the Gu Yang family and the Blue Dragon family's enforcers, it would not be easy to continue killing the enforcers from the other guardian families. Therefore, he could temporarily hide in a place where he could improve the laws of life and death and avoid being hunted down by the enforcers, as long as he could delay the hidden dragon ranking battle of the heavens. Therefore, he could continue to increase his cultivation. Then, during this period of time, when he participated in the hidden dragon rankings, with the protection of the laws of the Heaven Dao and hidden dragon Qi, even if he directly stood before the enforcers of the three great clans, they wouldn't dare make a move to kill or capture him. As long as he could last until the end of the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition, he would have the strength and opportunity to break through to the martial saint realm with the help of the accumulated hidden dragon providence. As long as he could become a peerless martial honorable, it would be hard to say who would be the one chasing after whom. Good idea. The tower spirit clapped its hands and praised in a gratified manner. The third reason is a very strange feeling. It's as if the rules of heaven are going out of control. When the third reason for leaving Twin Oxen Mountain was mentioned, Yu Haoran's footsteps on the stairs to the second floor of the treasury suddenly stopped. A trace of worry appeared on his face. Originally, according to the special relationship between the rules of heaven and the 4 great families, the rules of heaven should have punished the Blue Dragon family's enforcers who dared to interfere with the blood oath of destiny. However, the enforcers of the Blue Dragon family only realized that something was wrong through Guliang Yinyuan's detailed explanation. Only then did the Heaven's Eye appear. This meant that there was a problem with the rules of heaven's control over the Tianxin continent. Moreover, as an emotionless heavenly Tao that only followed the rules, after killing the culprit who dared to break the rules, it should stop punishing them. It was absolutely impossible for it to directly slaughter a large family with hundreds of thousands of inheritances just because of anger and kill everyone regardless of gender or age. Combined with his own senses as an arcane master, he felt that the laws of heaven were gradually losing control over the profound sky continent. Those martial sovereigns who had already awakened might directly appear before the official start of the hidden dragon ranking competition. Therefore, leaving the Twin Oxen Mountain was not only to avoid the pursuit of the enforcers of the 3 great families, but also to avoid those martial honorables who might appear prematurely. Yu Haoran, your guess is very likely correct. I also feel that the rules of heaven's control over the Tianxin continent is continuously weakening. After hearing Yu Haoran's guess about the rules of heaven's control, combined with the feeling he had when hiding in the victor and his familiarity with an understanding of the ambitions of the 4 great guardian families, Thowling not only knew that Yu Haoran's guess was completely correct, but also clearly understood why the rules of heaven wanted to protect the 5 of them who had reincarnated. Thowling, this is the real reason why I made this decision at the last minute. After concluding, Yu Haoran stepped into the second floor of the treasury. Immediately after, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. Neatly arranged on hundreds of wooden shelves were tens of thousands of pill bottles containing different types of pills, as well as tens of thousands of wooden and jade boxes containing medicinal herbs. Thowling, put away the wooden and jade boxes containing the medicinal herbs. Yu Haoran ordered Thowling as he walked towards the wooden shelves on the east side where the pills were placed. When I have free time, I will reorganize and record them. Got it. After nodding in response, the powerful Emperor Wu's divine telekinesis instantly put away the tens of thousands of wooden and jade boxes. Yu Haoran, who had also spread out his divine telekinesis, began to select a portion of the top-notch pills that could be used to increase one's cultivation and strength, as well as those that could be used to heal injuries, according to the origin and grade of the pills marked under each pill bottle. As for the remaining pills, Thowling used his powerful divine telekinesis to store them in the victor, and then organized and categorized them. After that, he went up the stairs to the 3rd floor of the treasury. It was slightly different from the collection in an ordinary treasury. The 3rd floor of the Guliang family's treasury did not contain any mental cultivation methods or martial arts techniques, but rather magical weapons that emitted a dazzling light, as well as some oddly shaped refining materials. You, Howren, you are in charge of collecting the magical weapons. I will pick out the refining materials. Seeing that the third floor of the treasury contained magical weapons and refining materials, Thaling, who was proficient and fond of refining weapons, immediately made arrangements. Howren did not have any objections to this. He walked to the jade platform on the east side, where the magical weapons were stored, and carefully counted them. He found that the lowest grade of the magical weapons stored on the third floor of the treasury was only a low-grade martial king, and most of them were emperor and saint-level magical weapons. This made Howren wild with joy. Chapter 11:30. On the third floor of the Gu Yang clan's treasury, Howren had collected 99 low-grade king's domain magic weapons for the Rui Bel's advancement. However, there were only 40 or so mid-grade king's domain magic weapons. On the other hand, there were only 23 high-grade king's domain magic weapons, not to mention emperor and saint realm magic weapons. Although there were not many mid-grade and high-grade king's domain magic weapons on the third floor of the Guliang clan's treasury, there were 92 low-grade emperor domain magic weapons. Together with the low-grade emperor domain magic weapons he had collected, it was just enough for the Rui Bel's advancement. Moreover, there were more than 70 mid-grade and high-grade emperor domain magic weapons. This made him confident that he could use the pills he had collected and his reputation in the field of alchemy to exchange for enough magic weapons for the Rui Bel to advance to high-grade emperor domain magic weapon in a short time. If the Rui Bel could advance to high-grade emperor domain magic weapon, it could basically ignore any attack from a martial saint with the help of the ancestral shaman's powerful physical body. It could even easily block an attack from a quasi-martial venerable. He used his divine sense to classify the magic weapons according to their grade and put them into a storage ring that specialized in storing magic weapons. Then, he turned his head and glanced at Thaling, who had left his knowledge and was constantly selecting refining materials. He couldn't help but remind him, Thaling, put all these refining materials into the Victor. You'll have plenty of time to carefully select them in the future. Howren, you're not a craftsman, so you don't understand the surprise and joy of constantly discovering precious refining materials. Thaling reminded Howren unhappily in the face of his urging. I'm not going to bother with you. Howren rolled his eyes and glanced at Thaling. He stepped onto the stairs leading to the fourth floor of the treasury and reminded him, Thaling, you can continue to enjoy the surprise and joy of selecting refining materials. I'm going to the fourth floor of the treasury first. Seeing Howren walk up the stairs to the fourth floor of the treasury, the tower spirit felt a little flustered. It felt as if Howren had never left his sight. Not having the time to continue enjoying the surprise and fun of the selection process, Emperor Wu directly rolled up all the refining materials with his powerful telepathic thoughts and then went to look for Howren through the stairs. After stepping into the fourth floor of the treasury, a strong fragrance of books assailed his nostrils. Raising his head and taking a quick glance, Howren discovered that in the fourth floor of the Gu Yang family's treasury, there were not only tens of thousands of different kinds of jade slips, but also thousands of books made of special paper. According to the aura emitted from the paper, some of the books might have been stored for more than tens of thousands of years. Just as he was about to step forward to check the jade slips and books, Thaling used his telepathic thoughts to carry tens of thousands of different refining materials into the fourth floor of the treasury and then directly into the Victor. After Thaling returned to his knowledge sea, Howren pointed at the tens of thousands of jade slips and ordered, Thaling, please help me collect those jade slips. While classifying them, help me check if there is any danger in each jade slip. Then, he suddenly remembered that some time ago at the black market auction, he had used a fourth-order first-rank Dao Comprehension pill to exchange for an unknown inheritance jade slip. Howren ordered after taking out the inheritance jade slip with his telepathic thoughts and sending it into his knowledge sea. Thaling, help me take a look at this inheritance jade slip and see if there is any hidden danger in the space of the jade slip. Yu Haoran, don't worry. This is just an ordinary inheritance jade slip. There is no danger in it, Thowling assured with a smile after carefully checking the jade slip with the powerful telepathic thoughts of Emperor Wu. After taking the jade slip out of his knowledge, with his telepathic thoughts, he directly entered the space of the jade slip. Then, a huge fist with a mysterious aura appeared in his telepathic thoughts. Fist shaking the mountains and rivers. Accompanied by a deep roar, the huge fist seemed to be able to shatter the earth, and it blasted out a fist technique that seemed to be able to pierce through the void. Yu Haoran closed his eyes and carefully felt the fist shaking the mountains and rivers just now. Gradually, a look of shock and surprise emerged in his heart. He was shocked because the power of the fist shaking the mountains and rivers was not inferior to the staff technique facing the sky and the staff technique overturning the seas and rivers. If it was combined with the body of the ancestor sorcerer to perform the fist technique, its power would be increased by at least 10 times, and it would be enough to directly kill a second tribulation quasi-martial venerable expert. He was happy because the fist shaking the mountains and rivers had inspired him to create his own mental cultivation method and martial arts technique. He had successfully found the direction to create his own mental cultivation method and martial arts technique and had solved the biggest problem he was about to face. Slowly opening his eyes, Yu Haoran slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Yu Haoran, what kind of shocking mental cultivation method and martial arts technique is recorded in the inheritance jade slip? Thowling also clearly felt the violent fluctuations in Yu Haoran's emotions just now. So after seeing him open his eyes, he immediately asked, "A fist technique that contains a mysterious mystery, a fist technique that is not inferior to the staff technique inherited by the Monkey Emperor," Yu Haoran exclaimed. Then he stepped in front of the bookshelf and began to use his telepathic thoughts to flip through the books that exuded the fragrance of books. Divine Plum Imprint Technique. 9 Thunderbolts. God's Shaking Palm Technique. After carefully reading through the books with his telepathic thoughts, Yu Haoran found that nearly 70% of the content recorded in the books were martial arts techniques of different grades, and the remaining 30% were some secret techniques and cultivation insights. Especially the cultivation insights of the martial sage and martial venerable realm, they would be of great help to him in his future breakthroughs, mental cultivation methods, and martial arts techniques. Using his telepathic thoughts to store all the books in the Victor, Yu Haoran turned his head to look at the jade slip on the bookshelf and found that it had already been put away by Thowling. So he stepped forward to leave the 4th floor of the treasury. But just as he turned around, he inadvertently saw a piece of black metal lying under the bookshelf where the books were placed just now. Thinking of all the resources in the first 4 floors of the treasury of the Guliang family, and how rude he was when he used his telepathic thoughts to store the books, Yu Haoran guessed that the black metal was very likely to be in one of the books. Without any hesitation, he reached out to the black metal and sucked hard. What surprised Yu Haoran was that the black metal did not move in the face of the strong suction force. He used his origin energy and soul power to continue increasing the power of the suction force, but the result was still the same. This made him immediately have a strong interest in the black metal. In a flash, he appeared in front of the black metal. After using all his strength, Yu Haoran bent down to pick up the black metal. Then, an even more shocked expression appeared on his face. The suction force formed by using all his strength was enough to move tens of thousands of kilograms, but it could not move the black metal at all. This was enough to prove that the black metal was at least hundreds of thousands of kilograms. Chapter 1131. On the 3rd floor of the Guliang family's treasury. Thowling, check the origin of this black iron piece. Recalling his experience in his previous life, Yu Haoran could not find any information about the black iron piece. He could only ask Thowling in his sea of consciousness for help. However, considering the strangeness of the black iron piece, he did not rashly put it into his sea of consciousness. Instead, he let Thowling observe it with his mind first. However, when Thaling's mind touched the black iron piece, he immediately put it into his sea of consciousness excitedly. Then, he said with great excitement, "You Howren, this is not an iron piece. This is the divine decree wood. It is a top refining material that can be used to refine divine artifacts. The divine decree wood that could be used to refine divine artifacts." After hearing Thaling's explanation, Howren was also pleasantly surprised. However, the surprise did not last for long. He quickly calmed down. Now, he was only at the early 6th level of the martial saint realm. It was still a question whether he could become a powerful expert like Emperor Wu. As for the martial god realm, it could only be a dream now. Then, only the martial god realm could use divine artifacts. It was also an unattainable dream for him. Thaling, who was immersed in surprise, did not notice the rapid changes in Howren's emotions. He was thinking about how to use the divine decree would to improve the grade and power of Howren's natal sword, so that it could become a real divine sword in the future. Walking down the stairs to the 5th floor of the treasury, Howren was immediately stunned by everything in front of him. Compared to the first 4 floors of the treasury, there were not many treasures in the 5th floor. There were only 9 treasures. However, the value of each treasure was no less than the sum of the treasures in the first 4 floors. Of course, the premise was to exclude the divine decree wood that was found later. Forcibly suppressing the surprise in his heart, Howren stepped in front of the first treasure. It was a black-yellow stone that was the size of a watermelon and looked like an embryo. Howren, this is the mysterious yellow stone embryo that can crazily increase the grade of the physical body. Thaling, who had just walked up to the jade platform and had yet to examine it carefully, shouted excitedly when he was alarmed by the aura of the heaven and earth, crazily increasing the grade of his physical body. Hearing Thaling's introduction of the mysterious yellow stone embryo, Howren was pleasantly surprised and immediately asked, "Thaling, can I immediately use the mysterious yellow stone embryo to upgrade the grade of my physical body?" Taking a deep breath, the tower spirit suppressed its joy and nodded. "Of course. What's the limit of the improvement of the physical body?" Howren asked. Thaling's gaze shifted from the mysterious yellow stone embryo to Howren as he said excitedly, "It's the same as your mental state cultivation. It's enough for your physical body to break through to the martial, honorable realm. How can I use the mysterious yellow stone embryo to upgrade the grade of my physical body?" Howren clenched his fists and his face was slightly red. His breathing gradually became heavier as he continued to ask. "The mysterious yellow stone embryo contains the purest mysterious yellow chi. An ordinary physical body cannot withstand the impact of the purest mysterious yellow chi. Therefore, you must maintain the state of the ancestral wizard's physical body and absorb the purest mysterious yellow chi in the mysterious yellow stone embryo. As for the effect, your physical body can easily break through to the martial honorable realm in 5 days and 7 days at most," Thaling explained in detail. Taking a deep breath, Howren signaled Thaling to keep the mysterious yellow stone embryo in the victor. Then, he stepped toward the second jade platform. Howren, if you use the victor's ability to accelerate time, it will only take a few minutes for your physical body to break through to the martial honorable realm." Thaling asked in confusion as he watched Howren step toward the second jade platform. "Why did you choose to give up now?" Thaling, among the 5 key factors for breaking through to the martial honorable realm, besides the cultivation of the state of mind that can assist in improving the comprehension of the law of life and death, the higher the realm, the greater the suppression on the comprehension of the law. Howren reminded him somewhat helplessly. "I understand." Thaling nodded to indicate that he understood why he did not use the mysterious yellow stone embryo immediately. In fact, in terms of experience, Thaling also knew that after the physical body broke through to the martial honorable realm, there would be a restriction on the comprehension of the law. The reason why he did not think of it at first was that the higher Howren's cultivation was, the more powerful he was, the sooner he could find the 5 elemental origins to reconstruct his physical body. This caused his mind to be in a mess. Geocentric spiritual milk, and it's a 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk. Yuharan cried out in surprise and joy as he looked at the nearly half bowl of crystal-clear milk placed in the jade bowl on the jade platform. At the auction in the black market, Shun Jinwen had used only 3 drops of 500-year-old geocentric spiritual milk to successfully exchange for a Saint low-class defensive magic weapon. In that case, there were more than 30 drops of 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk in front of him. Could he exchange it for a Saint low-class defensive magic weapon or an Emperor low-class offensive magic weapon? Of course, exchanging it for Saint low-class and Emperor low-class magic weapons only indirectly proved the great value of the 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk. Of course, Yuharan was not stupid enough to exchange it for real. This was because the true effect of the 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk was to enhance one's potential and comprehension, strengthen one's foundation, and assist in breaking through to the next realm. Yuharan, I was originally worried that your rapid improvement in cultivation would affect the stability of your foundation and slow down your cultivation in the martial honorable realm. When Thaling saw the 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk in the jade bowl on the jade platform, he could not help but exclaim in surprise. Now, with the help of these 33 drops of 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk, this hidden danger could be completely eliminated. Even after breaking through to the martial honorable realm, you can still maintain the rapid improvement of your cultivation. Thaling, please put the jade platform into the victor's well. After nodding in agreement with Thaling's exclamation, Yuharan instructed. After Thaling put away the jade platform and jade bowl containing the 10,000-year-old geocentric spiritual milk, Yuharan stepped towards a third jade platform. On the jade platform, there was a stone that emitted a dazzling golden light. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Looking at the golden stone on the jade platform, Thaling vaguely felt that it was familiar, but he could not recall it at the moment. However, when his divine thought entered the stone that was emitting a dazzling golden light and felt a trace of aura that was rapidly condensing his divine soul, Thaling suddenly cried out in disbelief. Thaling, what exactly is this golden stone? Yuharan could not help but ask when he saw Thaling in his divine sense clenching his fists, breathing heavily, and muttering to himself in his divine sense. Xuanhuan gold, Thaling subconsciously replied. After hearing Thaling's reply, Yuharan also cried out in disbelief, how is this possible? Xuanhuan gold was a top material that could be used to refine top-grade martial emperor artifacts. It was extremely rare. Of course, if it only had the ability to refine top-grade martial emperor artifacts, Yuharan and Thaling would not be so shocked at the same time. Chapter 1132. In the 5th floor of the Gu Liang family treasury. As a Thaling who had existed since the ancient era, his powerful mental state allowed him to quickly recover from his shock. He then used his arcane sense to carefully inspect the black fantasy metal. In the end, he confirmed with 100% certainty that the energy contained within the black fantasy metal was one of the 5 elemental origins, the metal origin. Seeing the tower genie solemnly put away the profound fantasy gold, Yuharan, who was gradually recovering from his shock, suddenly realized a crucial problem. That was whether the black fantasy gold that the pagoda spirit had just put away could satisfy the metal origin energy he needed to reconstruct his physical body. However, Thaling's answer disappointed Yuharan. That was because the metal origin energy contained within the black fantasy metal was extremely scarce. It was so scarce that it could not even condense a finger. Seeing Yuharan's disappointed expression, Thaling consoled with a smile. Yuharan, don't be disappointed. As long as we have the black fantasy metal in our hands, we have the hope of finding more black fantasy metal. Thaling, what do you mean? Yuharan asked in confusion. As long as your arcane master arcane level reaches the grandmaster level, you can use the innate divination art to calculate the exact location of other black fantasy metals based on the aura of the black fantasy metal. Thaling explained with a smile. Nodding, Howard finally understood why Thaling did not feel any disappointment or dejection due to the scarcity of metal origin energy. Then, he walked to the fourth jade platform where a pill bottle was placed. Thaling, please check it first. Back then, in the fifth floor of the Enforcer Peak's treasury, he released the sealed black gas in the pill bottle due to his carelessness and almost caused a tragedy. Hence, he did not dare to open the pill bottle that was stored in the fifth floor at the same time as the dark Yellowstone embryo and 10,000-year spirit milk. Howard, feel free to check it out. He also recalled the Thaling he experienced in the mysterious ice pill bottle. He cautiously used his spiritual sense to slowly penetrate the pill bottle. After discovering that there was no dangerous aura in the pill bottle, he smiled and gestured. Just as he opened the pill bottle, a refreshing fragrance immediately awakened Howard's memories from his previous life. He couldn't help but pour out the pills from the pill bottle with trembling hands. Second stage, 9th grade, 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan. Howard muttered to himself with moist eyes as he looked at the 7 lotus imprints on the inside of the crystal-clear pill in his hand. Howard, what kind of effect does the 7 Lotus Essence pill have? Howard's hands were trembling, the corners of his eyes were wet, and his emotions were violently fluctuating. When he saw the crystalline pill in his hand, Howard's overly excited reaction immediately aroused the interest of the tower spirit. This was because during the time they had known each other, other than when he had encountered one of the 10 great exotic flowers of the Tianxian continent, the love burial flower in the red rocks of the Blue Moon Secret Realm, this was the second time he had lost control of his emotions. The 7 Lotus Pure Heart Pill is a cultivation-enhancing pill refined from the 1,000-year snow lotus, the purple lotus, the golden lotus, the 7-cloud lotus, the white jade lotus, the ice crystal lotus, and the pure heart divine lotus. The 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan can help increase the chances of a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th grade, martial revered realm to break through to Emperor Wu's realm by 60%. Hearing Howard's introduction of the effects of the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan, Thaling could not help but exclaim in shock, so powerful. Thaling, in fact, this is not the true heaven-defying effect of the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan. In the face of Thaling's shocked exclamation, Howard smiled bitterly and shook his head as he reminded him. Howard, what do you mean by this? To be able to help increase the chances of breaking through to Emperor Wu's realm by 60% was enough to prove the heaven-defying effect of the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan. However, Howard's bitter smile just now sounded like the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan had an even stronger effect. This made Thaling somewhat unable to accept it and asked, Thaling, with the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan as the main medicine, and then with the Purple Heart Lotus and Bishing Immortal Lotus, one can refine the 9 Lotus Essence Heart Dan and the effect of the 9 Lotus Essence Heart Dan. At this point, Howard took a deep breath. After the bitter smile on his face was replaced by seriousness, he said, It can help Emperor Wu, a powerful expert at the peak of level 9, to break through to the martial god realm by 50%. Sizzle. The heaven-defying effect of the 9 Lotus Essence Heart Dan made Thaling gasp involuntarily. At the same time, his heart immediately surged with infinite surprise. In order to reconstruct the physical body, in addition to a large amount of the 5 elements origin, Howard's cultivation had to break through to the martial god realm, and then use a special method to block the telepathy between him and his body. The 5 elements origin was easy to find, but it was difficult to break through to the martial god realm. With the help of the 9 Lotus Essence Heart Dan, which could increase the chances of breaking through to the martial god realm by 50%, coupled with his usual teaching and Howard's own talent that was close to the divine realm, it would not be a dream for him to break through to the martial god realm in the future. However, what Thaling could not understand was that in the face of such a heaven-defying elixir like the 7 Lotus Essence Heart Dan, Yu Haoran's reaction was not surprise and ecstasy, but a faint sadness and reluctance. Yu Haoran, what's wrong with you? Faling asked directly. Faling, do you know what the purple heart lotus and bishing lotus that are needed to upgrade the grade of the 7 lotus essence heart dan represent? After putting the 7 lotus essence heart dan back into the elixir bottle and putting it into his storage ring, Yu Haoran asked sadly, aren't they just 2 kinds of top spiritual herbs? Faling answered somewhat confusedly. Then do you know how these 2 spiritual herbs are produced? Yu Haoran continued to ask sadly. It's either a blessed place with rich spiritual qi, or a forbidden place full of danger. Faling guessed. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran raised his head and looked towards the north. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the walls of the treasury, and said, the purple heart divine lotus and the bishing divine lotus do not grow in the blessed enclave with dense spirit qi, nor do they come from the forbidden lands where danger lurks everywhere. Instead, they refer to people who possess the purple emperor divine body and the bishing divine body. Yu Haoran, you mentioned upgrading the grade of the 7 lotus essence heart dan. Could it be the human elixir of the forbidden pill refining method? After hearing the true origins of the purple heart lotus and bishing lotus, Faling, who was familiar with the taboos of the Tianxian continent, could not help but ask angrily. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran sighed and added, Faling, although it is also a forbidden pill refining method, the forbidden pill refining method that I, Yu Haoran, possess does not require one to take one's life, nor will it harm one's cultivation. The only cruel thing is that it requires the extraction of one's blood with a special physique. It will cause unbearable pain and temporarily weaken one's physique. After hearing Yu Haoran's further explanation, the anger that surged in Faling's heart immediately subsided. Then, according to Yu Haoran's sadness and reluctance, Faling could not help but guess. Chapter 1133. In the 5th floor of the Gu Liang family's treasury. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran didn't say anything else. He took a deep breath and sealed the images that had just appeared in his mind into the deepest part of his mind. He didn't want to think about these memories for the rest of his life. Then he walked towards the 5th jade table with a jade box on it. Faling, check it first. Yu Haoran didn't take any risks and reminded Faling as he pointed at the jade box on the jade table. Seeing Yu Haoran put away his sadness and reluctance, Faling took a deep breath and adjusted his emotions. Then he used his mind to carefully check the jade box. After confirming that there were no hidden dangers in the jade box, he signaled Yu Haoran to open it. This is the exquisite sage ginseng that can be used to increase one's soul power. After seeing the cute purple ginseng placed in the jade box, the sadness and reluctance in Yu Haoran's heart was immediately replaced by ecstasy as he shouted, "Thank you for your kindness. Furthermore, it's the exquisite sage ginseng that has reached the 2nd rank. It can help a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th rank martial honorable realm to break through to the Emperor Wu's realm. This is an opportunity." Although Faling had already used his mind to detect the exquisite sage ginseng, he still couldn't help but exclaim in surprise after seeing it with his own eyes. "Yu Haoran, this is a great opportunity. The mysterious yellow stone embryo that could help a person break through the physical body's grade. The exquisite sage ginseng that could help a person break through to the Emperor Wu's realm. The 7 lotus pure heart pill that could help a person break through to the martial honorable realm, as well as stabilizing and eliminating the hidden dangers after breaking through to the martial honorable realm. If he counted the mental cultivation that had already broken through to the martial honorable realm, Yu Haoran was only a step away from breaking through to the martial honorable realm and becoming a peerless expert. Furthermore, Faling believed that with Yu Haoran's monstrous comprehension, he could definitely comprehend the laws of life and death to perfection in that special place. If everything went smoothly, he would be able to successfully break through to the martial honor realm before the start of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Ranking Contest. Unlike Faling's surprised reaction, Yu Haoran, who had quickly calmed down, did not immediately put away the exquisite sage ginseng. Instead, he flashed to the 6th jade platform. Fouling, what level is this magic tool? Yu Haoran asked with a grave expression as he pointed at the small silver sword with a yellowish talisman stuck on it. That's a low-grade martial emperor's sword. Fouling exclaimed in surprise as he scanned the sword with his divine sense. In a flash, Yu Haoran appeared in front of the 7th jade platform. He pointed at the shield that was also plastered with talismans and asked, Fouling, what level is this magic tool? This is a top-grade Exalt Realm defensive magic tool. Fouling also quickly scanned the palm-sized shield with his spiritual sense and replied in an even more pleasantly surprised manner. In a flash, he appeared in front of the 8th jade platform and pointed at a dark cyan talisman. Fouling, what level is this talisman? What is its specific function? It's a 3rd-order, 1st-grade traction talisman. It can draw all the spiritual chi of heaven and earth within a radius of 10 million miles in the shortest amount of time. After scanning the talisman with his divine sense, Fouling thought for a while and replied with even more difficulty to control his joy. Yu Haoran raised his head to look at the jade slip placed on the 9th jade platform. He did not go forward to look at it for the time being. Instead, he looked up at the stairs leading to the 6th floor of the treasury. His face was so solemn that it seemed as if it could drip water. Yu Haoran, what's going on? Looking at Yu Haoran, who hurriedly looked at the magic tools and talismans without immediately participating in the discussion, Fouling, whose surprise was replaced by doubt, asked, Fouling, don't tell me you didn't notice that among the 9 treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury, apart from the jade slip that you haven't looked at yet, the remaining 8 treasures have something special about them. Pointing at the jade platform where the magic tools and talismans were placed, Yu Haoran reminded him, aren't they just top treasures used to improve cultivation and strength? Fouling did not notice the slightest abnormality and replied. Returning to the 9th jade platform, Yu Haoran pointed at the jade slip placed on the jade platform and said, Fouling, do you believe that I can read the contents of the jade slip without looking at it personally? It's impossible. Using his divine sense to store the jade slip into his sea of consciousness, Fouling retorted in disbelief. The jade slip records the cultivation comprehension for breaking through the Emperor Wu realm, as well as the things to pay attention to in the process of breaking through the realm. Yu Haoran said very confidently. After hearing Yu Haoran's speculation, Fouling immediately read the contents of the jade slip, following which his face revealed an extremely shocked expression. Fouling, do you still remember the 2 auras you felt in the valley when you first observed the mansion of the Guliang family? Fouling's shocked expression just now proved that his speculation was not wrong. Then, combined with the 9 treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury, his shocking speculation was probably not wrong. Of course I remember. Suppressing the shock that emerged in his heart, Fouling nodded and repeated. One is an almighty Emperor Wu who has been dead for God knows how many hundreds of thousands of years. The other is a peerless expert at the peak of 9th grade, revered martial artist. Speaking up to here, Fouling also immediately felt that something was wrong, and could not help but cast his gaze towards the 6th floor of the treasury. Seeing that Fouling finally realized the seriousness of the matter, Yu Haoran asked solemnly, Fouling, can you take the risk? Yu Haoran, if you use the body possession technique and let me control your body, you will be able to exert the strength of a peak 9th grade revered martial artist. In the face of Yu Haoran's interrogation, Fouling did not give a specific answer. Instead, he began to introduce the strength that he could exert. If I use 1% of the strength of the victor, I will be able to defeat and severely injure an almighty expert at the level of 1st grade Emperor Wu. In a flash, Yu Haoran appeared in front of the 6th, 7th, and 8th jade pedestals. After putting away the sealed lower Emperor Realm Sword, superior Venerable Realm Defensive Shield, and the talisman that could draw the spiritual chi of heaven and earth within a radius of 10 million miles into his storage ring, he returned to the stairs that led to the 6th floor of the treasury. Without any hesitation, He walked up the stairs to the door of the 6th floor of the treasury. However, a layer of milky white defensive layer blocked him from entering the 6th floor of the treasury. A heavenly upper earth defensive formation. Thowling quickly scanned the milky white defensive layer in front of him with his divine thought, quickly identified the origin and grade of the defensive layer, and directly gave it time to break it. Yuhaoran, give me 5 minutes. Nodding, Yuhaoran closed his eyes and continued to ponder over his speculation about the 9 treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury, as well as the counterattack that he might encounter in the future. Okay. In less than 5 minutes, the pagoda genie had successfully broken through the Earth Xian defensive formation. Chapter 1134. On the 6th floor of the Guoyang family's treasury. That's impossible. Looking at the empty 6th floor of the treasury in front of him, Yuhaoran couldn't believe it. Because the 9 special treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury were enough to prove that the Guoyang family was carrying out an earth-shattering plan. And the final location of the plan was the 6th floor of the treasury. But why wasn't there the corpse of a peerless 9th grade martial venerable in the 6th floor of the treasury? Yuhaoran, don't worry. The pagoda spirit, who had just cracked the Earth Xian defensive array, vaguely felt that something was wrong on the 6th floor of the treasury. It hurriedly signaled Yuhaoran not to be anxious for the time being and to remain silent. Then, he directly mobilized all of Emperor Wu's spirit sense and began to carefully examine the overall structure of the 6th floor of the treasury to see if there were any hidden formations. After nearly 20 minutes of careful examination, Thowling finally found the secret hidden on the 6th floor of the treasury. Yuhaoran, take out 9 4th grade spirit stones. Yuhaoran didn't ask why the tower spirit had taken out the spirit stones. He immediately put away the disappointment in his heart and took out 9 4th tier 1st grade spirit stones from his storage ring before waiting for the tower spirit's instructions. Take 9 steps straight and break a spirit stone. Thowling ordered. Take 9 steps left and break a spirit stone. Take 9 steps back and break a spirit stone. Take 9 steps right and break a spirit stone. After moving 9 times and shattering 9 4th tier 1st grade spirit stones, Yuhaoran turned his head to look at the location of the shattered spirit stones. To his surprise, he discovered that the spirit liquid within the shattered spirit stones was actually being guided by a special power. Gradually, on the ground of the 6th floor of the treasury, a very familiar array diagram was being constructed. A short-distance teleportation formation. Yuhaoran shouted in shock. That's right. While nodding to confirm, Thowling said with a hint of admiration in his voice. The experts of the Guoyang family are very cautious, and the means they set up are very cunning. If you enter the valley through the entrance of the valley, you will definitely end up with nothing. Only through the short-distance teleportation formation on the 6th floor of the treasury can we enter the space where Emperor Wu and Wu Zun's corpse are truly hidden in the valley. At this point, the tower spirit reminded him solemnly. Yuhaoran, it doesn't matter if the corpses of Emperor Wu and the Martial Saint are truly dead or if they are in a half-dead state right now. The Emperor's might and venerables might they emit is not something you can withstand with your current cultivation. Therefore, before entering the core space of the valley, not only do I need to use the possession technique in advance, I also need to control the body. Sure. Yuhaoran nodded in agreement without hesitation. By the time Thowling successfully performed the possession technique and successfully gained control of his physical body, the short-distance teleportation formation set up by the special power on the 6th floor of the treasury was also completed and activated. Although it was Thowling who was controlling the body, Yuhaoran, who stayed in the knowledge, could also feel the dizziness during the teleportation process. After the dizziness disappeared, an unimaginably terrifying aura broke through the barrier of the knowledge, and quickly penetrated into the space of the knowledge, Thowling. Yuhaoran couldn't help but shout as he felt the pain of his divine soul and mind being torn apart. Solidify. A moment of carelessness almost made a big mistake. Thowling quickly reacted and after forcibly dispersing the terrifying aura in the knowledge sea, he immediately performed a technique to strengthen the barrier of the knowledge sea. Howren, I'm sorry. After the terrifying aura could no longer pose a threat, Thowling immediately apologized to Howren in the knowledge sea. It's okay. Although he was a little angry at Thowling's carelessness just now, which almost caused his knowledge sea and mind to be destroyed, he thought that he must have encountered an unimaginable shock to make such a fatal mistake. Therefore, Howren immediately asked after waving his hand and comforting him. Thowling, what happened? Howren, this is not a powerful expert at the level of Emperor Wu, but a demigod whose cultivation has reached the martial god realm. Thowling said with a wry smile as he pointed at the lifelike corpse sitting cross-legged in front of him with its eyes closed. Strange. Through the space of a knowledge sea, Howren suddenly had a very strange feeling as he looked at the corpse sitting cross-legged in front of him. At first glance, the corpse was exactly the same as a normal human being. At second glance, the corpse immediately had its head in the void and its feet on the ground, just like the 12 ancestors of sorcerers in ancient times. At third glance, the corpse had clearly been dead for a long time, and it was impossible for it to come back to life. At fourth glance, the corpse gave him a feeling that it was still alive. Thowling, a demigod expert at the martial god realm, is too terrifying. The strange feeling made Howren feel that his mind was constantly being attacked. At the same time, he immediately closed his eyes and could not help but exclaim to Thowling, Howren, this demigod in front of you has just integrated the complete rules of order. His state of mind, divine soul, and physical body have not passed the triple calamity. Otherwise, even if I controlled your physical body, you would not have been able to appear in front of him. Thowling could not help but exclaim, Thowling, can you destroy this demigod's corpse? Thinking about how the Guliang family had been preparing for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years, to revive this demigod in front of him. They had even prepared to sacrifice millions of lives in Leilang City. Howren was worried that there would be an accident in the future, so he wanted to completely eliminate them. No, Thowling said solemnly as he shook his head. The so-called demigod expert has already integrated his own understanding and control of the rules of order into his physical body. Not only is his physical body indestructible, but he is also able to withstand attacks. Unless my divine soul can recover to the peak of the 9th grade Emperor Wu, and I can mobilize 3% of the victor's strength, it will be difficult to shake this demigod in front of me. Seeing that even Thowling, who had used the Emperor's son-in-law body technique and controlled his physical body, could not destroy the demigod's corpse, Howren could not help but sigh. Then, he looked at the other corpse that was sitting opposite the demigod outside of his mind. Without thinking, Howren knew that the peak 9th grade martial honored realm corpse in front of him was the key method used by the Guliang family to revive the demigod. Since he could not destroy the demigod's corpse, then destroying the martial honored realm expert who could revive the demigod could eliminate most of the hidden dangers. No problem. Thowling nodded in agreement. Chapter 1135. Inside the Valley. Destruction. Mobilizing the power of its soul, the pagoda spirit raised its hand and pointed at the corpse of the martial honorable. As a special energy fluctuation continuously approached the martial saint, who had been dead for an unknown period of time, suddenly opened his eyes. His clear eyes were immediately filled with endless fury. Neither Howren, who was in the sea of consciousness, nor the pagoda spirit, who was controlling the body, were surprised when they saw the peerless martial saint suddenly open his eyes. Through the 9 treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury that were specifically used to increase the cultivation and strength of martial venerables, they had already deduced the true intentions of the Guliang clan. They wanted to use the geomancy technique of 9 dragons encircling the moon to gather the fortune of the entire city and revive the peak rank 9 martial sovereign ancestor. After the peak, Grade 9 Martial Honorable Ancestor was revived, he would use the 9 treasures on the 5th floor of the treasury and the heavenly laws to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. Then, he would use his Martial Emperor cultivation to perform the blood sacrifice ritual and use the flesh and blood of the millions of people in Leylang City to revive the demigod ancestor. According to his own arcane master cultivation, Yu Haoran estimated that the Guliang clan's 9 dragons encircling the moon had existed for more than 10,000 years. The fortune gathered over such a long period of time was probably enough to revive the peak rank 9 martial sovereign ancestor. The reason why he did not use the 9 treasures in the 5th floor of the treasury to increase his cultivation and strength was because he was worried that his powerful cultivation would attract the attention of the heavenly Tao. He wanted to delay until the end of the hidden dragon ranking and the day when the heavenly Tao was perfected. I knew you had revived. The pagoda spirit sneered when it saw the peerless martial honorable who had suddenly opened his eyes and defeated the power of the law of destruction with a wave of his hand. Then, he raised his arm again and pointed at the peerless martial saint as he softly shouted, "Scars of Time." Thowling used the Scars of Time martial skill at the beginning because he wanted to analyze the demigod's life experience and see the true state of the demigod. But the result was very disappointing. Feeling the terror of the Scars of Time martial skill, the martial sovereign immediately stood up and waved his palms with all his strength, intending to destroy the approaching power. But just as the power from his palms was about to collide with the power formed by the law martial skill, the power formed by the law martial skill instantly crossed the barrier of time and space and crashed into the martial sovereign. Scars of Time. When he felt the terrifying power of the law of time martial skill trying to forcefully disintegrate his body, the martial saint let out a roar. Not only did he directly use the law of time martial skill he knew, but the target of the law of time martial skill was actually himself. Because he wanted to use the law martial skill he controlled to weaken the power of the Scars of Time martial skill and avoid the fate of his body being disintegrated. A hint of admiration flashed through the pagoda spirit's eyes when it saw that the martial saint had come up with the idea of fighting poison with poison to weaken the threat of the law of time martial skill it had just unleashed. However, the look of admiration was soon replaced by a cold smile. The tower spirit continued to raise its arm and pointed at the peerless martial saint as it lightly yelled, "Stop! Blossoms of Time. Senior, please have mercy. Guliang Xingming has something to say." Using the Scars of Time martial skill, Guliang Xingming had barely managed to resist half of the power of the Scars of Time martial skill. But when he saw the young man in front of him use an even more powerful law martial skill, the threat of death made him hurriedly beg for mercy. Unfortunately, Thowling, who was already filled with killing intent, ignored Gu Liang Xingming's pleas. The power of the Scars of Time martial skill also crossed the barrier of time and space and crashed into Gu Liang Xingming's body. Gu Liang Xingming's face was filled with grief and indignation as he watched his life force, which he had painstakingly recovered, disappear under the power of the Scars of Time martial skill. "Senior, I, Guliang Xingming, have never offended you. Why are you so ruthless? The Guliang family has already been destroyed by the laws of the heavens. We are enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens and exterminating the last remaining bloodline of the Guliang family." With the help of the huge amount of luck accumulated in Leylang City, not only could he revive a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th grade martial honored realm who had been dead for tens of thousands of years, but could also help him recover nearly 70% of his strength. While Thowling admired the Guliang family's powerful methods, he was also worried that the already dead demigod expert might have an unpredictable accident in the future. Therefore, he directly pushed the real reason for killing the demigod expert to the laws of the heavens, so that Yu Haoran could jump out of the unknown danger as much as possible, enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. After hearing the young man's reply, Guliang Xingming used what little strength he had left to tear the space around the stream and quickly scanned the mansion with his powerful spiritual sense. What did the younger generation of the Gu Liang family do to attract the wrath of the heavens to exterminate the entire family? Feeling the remnant aura of the divine lightning in the mansion, Gu Liang Shengming's face showed a trace of anger as he roared at the sky. Fouling, repeat my words. After hearing Gu Liang Shengming's angry roar and looking at the demigod corpse that was emitting a terrifying aura, a sinister plan suddenly appeared in his mind. Speak. Fouling, who was familiar with and understood Yu Haoran, immediately guessed his thoughts and was willing to cooperate. Gu Liang Shengming, actually, the Gu Liang family had secretly sided with the Blue Dragon family of the four great guardian families 30,000 years ago. They had always been carrying out law enforcement missions for the Blue Dragon family. In the end, they attracted the wrath of the laws of the heavens and sent down 10,000 bolts of purple divine lightning as punishment. You saw the result just now. Regardless of whether it was the direct line of descent or the branch family, male or female, old or young, they were all destroyed by the purple divine lightning. After hearing Fouling repeat Yu Haoran's words, Gu Liang Shengming immediately complained resentfully. Damn it, don't the previous family heads know that the four great guardian families are not kind people? Being associated with them is the same as asking a tiger for its skin. A peerless expert at the peak of the 9th grade martial honorable realm, with his powerful strength and a long lifespan of 5,000 years, could allow him to persevere for a period of time in the flowerful martial technique, but there was a limit to how long he could persevere. Just as Gu Liang Shengming was complaining about the disappointment and greed of the younger generation, his expression changed as his life force was about to be exhausted. He turned his head to look at Fouling, then raised his head to look in the direction of the central region in the north. Deep hatred appeared in Gu Liang Shengming's eyes. Then he directly used the last of his life force to form a seal with his hands and pointed at the demigod corpse. The seal formed by his 10 fingers was directly imprinted on the forehead of the demigod corpse. Chapter 1136. In the space of the valley. Yu Haoran, it seems like you've thought it through. Fouling could not help but feel lucky when he saw that Gu Liang Shengming had used the last of his life force to activate the resurrection of the demigod expert. He had also imprinted the real reason for the destruction of the Gu Liang family into the mind of the demigod ancestor. Although he won't be able to avoid being hunted down by the demigod expert in the future, the pride of the demigod expert would make him choose to take revenge on the Blue Dragon family first. Yu Haoran was also very glad about this. Yu Haoran then looked at Gu Liang Shengming, who was sitting cross-legged again, and asked, Fouling, what do we do with Gu Liang Shengming's body? Fouling, who had turned around and tore the space of the valley, reminded Su Mo as he left through the tear in the space. Yu Haoran, have you forgotten the true power of the flower curtain? After hearing Fouling's reminder, Yu Haoran quickly turned his head to look at Gu Liang Shengming, who was still sitting cross-legged. He realized that a breeze had blown in from the tear in the space and had turned him into dust. The dust then drifted into the space of Yu Haoran's valley. Sigh. Looking at the disappearing Gu Liang Shengming, Yu Haoran softly sighed and muttered to himself, Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hope you can rest in peace. Twin Bull Mountain, Iyuan Pavilion, Cultivation Room. I've finally succeeded. Yu Haoran finally heaved a sigh of relief as he looked at the pill fire space that had been opened up by the Nihility pill condensation technique. As a rank 3, rank 1 supreme Hua pill that could increase the chances of breaking through to the martial honorable realm by 50%, it had to be baptized by the Thunder Calamity when it was finally formed, just like the 5 Lives Mystery Pill and Ice Heart Jade Pill. Sumo would not be able to avoid everyone's attention and could only choose to refine the supreme Hua pill in front of everyone. In order to avoid exposing the existence of the Nihility pill condensation technique, he had to use the pill furnace as a cover. Therefore, after returning from Leilang City to Twin Bull Mountain, he had been trying to open up an independent Dantian space in the pill furnace. Fortunately, hard work paid off. After 3 days and 3 nights of continuous experiments, not only did he finally succeed in opening up a space for alchemy fire, but the high temperature of the alchemy fire in the alchemy furnace also greatly increased the power of his Danteon fire, forcibly increasing the success rate of alchemy by 10%. Taking a deep breath, Howard removed the space of the Danteon flame in the pill furnace. He calculated a little and found that there was still 1 day left until the appointed time with Master Zhou. After that, he closed his eyes again and began to read the books and jade slips that had been organized by Thaling. He strived to create a mental cultivation method to break through to the martial venerable realm before the Hidden Dragon rankings competition began, as well as a sword technique that would allow him to become a peerless sword venerable. Time passed by second, just as there were 2 hours left until the appointed time with Master Zhou. He Xiong, who was in charge of guarding, suddenly used the spiritual sense of the beast pet contract to tell him that someone had come to visit. Putting away the book of Earth-class mental cultivation method in his hand, Howard spread his divine sense to look at the visitor outside the courtyard. After that, he immediately got up and left the cultivation room. Then he quickly walked to the courtyard door with a smile on his face and personally opened the door to welcome the visitor. Senior Brother Liu, after opening the courtyard door and seeing the young swordsman standing behind Jianyu, Howard called out in surprise, "Junior Brother Yu." Seeing the happy smile on Howard's face, Liu Yuan, who didn't know why, felt a sense of closeness in his heart. He immediately forgot his master's repeated warnings and responded with a smile. "Liu Yuan, although your cultivation is higher than the prince consort's, the prince consort's strength and reputation far surpass yours." Hearing his disciple call Howard junior brother, Jianyu, who was afraid that Howard would be unhappy, immediately reprimanded him. "Even if you don't want to call him prince consort, you should at least call him Master Yu." "Senior Jianyu, if Senior Brother Liu calls me Prince Consort or Master Yu, I will be very unhappy." After persuading Jianyu not to criticize Liu Yuan, Howard invited Liu Yuan with a smile. "Senior Jianyu, Senior Brother Liu Yuan, please come in." After closing the courtyard door, Howard led Jianyu and Liu Yuan to the pavilion. After they sat down, Liu Yuan stood up again and bowed respectfully to express his thanks and promise. "Junior Brother Yu, Liu Yuan will never forget the kindness of accepting you as my disciple. In the future, if Junior Brother has any errands, Liu Yuan will definitely do my best." In the face of Liu Yuan's thanks and promise, Howard calmly accepted them. After all, to be able to accept the inheritance of a peerless sword venerable expert who possessed the sword domain was an opportunity that every swordsman dreamed of. In the face of such a heaven-defying opportunity, not only did he take the initiative to reject it, but he also tried his best to help Liu Yuan accept the inheritance of the sword venerable. Regardless of whether he owed Liu Yuan in his previous life, he could accept Liu Yuan's thanks and promise with a clear conscience. "Senior Brother Liu, after accepting the inheritance of the vast sea sword venerable, how high will your achievements be in the future?" Howard was not interested in the inheritance of the vast sea sword venerable. He finally knew the change in Liu Yuan's talent after accepting the inheritance of the vast sea sword venerable. After all, Liu Yuan's future was very similar to his. He had to face the challenge and threat of the heaven, earth, and human swords that gathered nearly 70% of the sword Dao fate of the Tianxin continent. The peak of the 9th grade martial venerable realm that condenses the sword domain is the real starting point of my martial Dao and sword Dao. Liu Yuan replied, casually with his hands behind his back. "Great." The peak of the 9th grade martial venerable realm was only the starting point of the martial Dao and sword Dao. This meant that Liu Yuan's goal was not just to be a sword emperor, but to be a sword god who could see through the mystery of life and death. The heroic spirit that Liu Yuan displayed at this moment far surpassed the so-called 3 swords of heaven, earth, and man. It had not changed at all from his character that was always full of confidence in his previous life. This made Howard feel gratified, and at the same time, he could not help but cheer with his blood boiling. Junior brother Yu, I hope that in the future journey of the martial Dao and sword Dao, I can have a brother like you by my side. Looking at Yu Haoran, who is also exuding strong confidence, Lu Yuan encouraged him. We'll be together forever. Yu Haoran promised as he nodded heavily. They did not talk too much, nor did they try to get to know each other better. They established a brotherly relationship with each other. Seeing the agreement between Lu Yuan and Yu Haoran, while Jianyu was deeply gratified, he also couldn't help but feel happy for his disciple. After all, Yu Haoran's talent in martial Dao and sword Dao was not inferior to Lu Yuan's. His achievements in alchemy and formula Dao could help him quickly improve his cultivation and strength, as well as avoid calamities. Yu Zhongshu, are you there? Chapter 1137. Yuan Pavilion. Come in. Yu Haoran explained to Lu Yuan and Jianyu after hearing the interrogations outside the courtyard. The people from the Zhou clan of the central region. Some time ago, I promised to refine a supreme Hua pill for them. Prince Consort, could it be that your alchemy cultivation has broken through to the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm? After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, Jianyu suddenly stood up and asked with a face full of shock. He had promised to refine the rank 3 first-grade supreme Hua pill. Yu Haoran nodded and waved his hand to indicate that Jianyu did not need to make a fuss. He turned his head and looked at the 3 people who pushed open the courtyard door and walked into the courtyard. The person who walked in front was the servant of the Zhou clan who had asked for his promise half a month ago. The middle-aged man who walked to the middle wore a golden robe embroidered with a 9-clawed golden dragon. He was the powerhouse with the surname Zhou Zhizhong, who had traded with him for the ghost-face flower. However, what really attracted Yu Haoran's attention was a young girl who wore a purple veil on her face and a purple robe embroidered with a dragon. Of course, what really attracted his attention was not her clear and charming eyes that were like the moon, nor was it her devilishly alluring figure. Instead, it was the aura that she was emitting that made Yu Haoran feel extremely dangerous. Yu Haoran, this girl in purple has not only comprehended the power of law to perfection, but her mental state and soul power have also broken through to the martial Grandmaster realm. She has the strength to easily kill a peak 3rd tribulation quasi-martial Grandmaster. Thaling, who had also sensed the extraordinary aura of the girl in purple, reminded Yu Haoran after carefully checking with his divine thought. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran was surprised. Judging from her age, the girl in purple was not more than 20 years old. Even if she was born in a second-grade clan like the Zhou clan, even if she had the assistance of the best cultivation resources, to be able to obtain such stunning achievements at a young age of less than 20 years was enough to prove the proud talent of the purple-clothed girl, as well as her courage to pursue the martial path. Otherwise, why would Zhou Zhizhong, who was also from the Zhou clan, only have the cultivation of a second tribulation quasi-martial saint? Seeing Zhou Zhizhong striding towards the pavilion, Yu Haoran hurriedly got up to greet him. Junior greets Senior Zhou. To Yu Haoran's surprise, in the face of his more respectful greeting, Zhou Zhizhong's attitude was just a nod, and then he went straight to the topic. Yu Haoran, how are the preparations? Can we start refining now? Not only was his attitude very rude, but the way he addressed him also lacked the respect of a transaction. Although Yu Haoran didn't know what had happened during that time, he had a personality of returning the favor tenfold. This caused Yu Haoran to quickly change his attitude. I can start refining it any time. Then his tone changed, and he reminded indifferently. Senior Zhou, although I, Yu Haoran, have promised to refine a 3rd-stage first-grade Huazun Dan for you, there are some ugly words that need to be said in advance. Otherwise, if an accident happens, it will cause everyone to be unhappy in the end. Say it. Yu Haoran's change in attitude made Zhou Zhizhong very unhappy, and his tone became even colder. According to the convention of Tianxian continent alchemists refining pills for others, if the final number of pills is more than 1, The extra pills will belong to the alchemist. I'm sure Senior Zhou doesn't have any objections. Yu Haoran said. No. Without any hesitation, Zhou Zhizhong immediately shook his head and refused. Not only is the supreme Huazuan Dan extremely precious, it can also affect the situation in Tianxin continent. No matter how many pills are refined in the end, they must belong to my Zhou clan. Senior Zhou, the jade box contains the ghost face flower that I exchanged with you. Please keep it well. Yu Haoran took out the empty wooden box that was used to store the ghost face flower during the transaction and threatened him. Yu Haoran, do you know how deep my Zhou clan's foundation is? Do you know how deep my Zhou clan's influence in Tianxin continent is? Seeing that Yu Haoran suddenly went back on his word, Zhou Zhizhong, who did not reach out to take the wooden box, threatened him with an ashen face. If my Zhou clan spreads the word, not only will you, Yu Haoran, be unable to move an inch in Tianxin continent, even Emperor Qin will obediently cancel the engagement between you and Qin Lingfei. Huh. Faced with Zhou Zhizhong's threat, Yu Haoran suddenly laughed towards the sky. As for Lu Yuan, who was sitting upright on the stone chair in the pavilion, a sharp sword aura that made Zhou Zhizhong feel a fatal threat immediately emerged from his body. Zhou Zhizhong, to say something arrogant and conceited, although your Zhou clan's foundation and influence is strong, you're still far from being able to threaten me, Yu Haoran. After the loud laughter stopped, Yu Haoran suddenly took a step forward, and a strong murderous aura slowly rose from his body as he threatened in return. Since I, Yu Haoran, can refine the Supreme Transformation Pill, then I have the ability to refine the 7 Lives Profound Gate Pill that can assist the almighty experts of the prospective Emperor Wu in overcoming the tribulation of luck, the Ice Heart J-Bone Pill that can help them overcome the body tribulation, and the 3-Mark Green Spirit Pill that can help them overcome the soul tribulation. Zhou Zhizhong, do you believe that I, Yu Haoran, will dare to use the price of refining 3 types of pills for free to ask all the almighty experts of the prospective Emperor Wu in Tianxin continent, who are cultivating in seclusion, to attack your Zhou clan with all their strength? Zhou Zhizhong, do you believe that as my, Yu Haoran's, alchemy becomes more and more advanced in the future, I will even have the ability and qualifications to ask the real almighty experts of the Emperor Wu to take action? Yu Haoran's pressuring threat caused Zhou Zhizhong to feel incomparably frightened. At the same time, he was unable to control his mind and took a few steps back. If it wasn't for the purple-clothed girl reaching out to press on his shoulder in time and using a special method to quickly calm him down, just the pressuring threat just now was enough to cause a fatal flaw to appear in Zhou Zhizhong's state of mind, making it impossible for him to break through to the realm of martial honor forever. Yu Xixiang, Ning He apologizes to you on behalf of Uncle Zhong. I hope that you could be magnanimous and don't mind Uncle Zhong's rudeness just now. After indicating for Zhou Zhizhong to immediately circulate his qi and regulate his breathing to prevent a fatal flaw from appearing in his state of mind, the purple-clothed girl's voice was like the chirping of an oriole as she apologized and made a promise. Moreover, Ning He represents the Zhou clan to agree to Yu Xixiang's request just now. Although Ning He's attitude was very humble, Yu Haoran, who already detested the Zhou clan in his heart, also didn't give her any face. His tone was still indifferent as he reminded her. No alchemist dares to promise a 100% success rate when refining any kind of pill. Therefore, you have to be prepared for the consequences of failing to refine the supreme Huazuan pill. Yu Xixiang can rest assured on this point. Ning He and the Zhou clan are very clear about this. Facing Yu Haoran's cold treatment, Ning He's attitude was still gentle as she replied. Regardless of whether the pill is refined in the end or not, Ning He and the Zhou clan will be grateful for Yu Xixiang's help. 108 medicinal herbs. Chapter 1138. In the Yi Yuan Pavilion. As the saying goes, it's hard to slap a smiling face. Facing Ning He, who was lowering herself everywhere, Yu Haoran couldn't keep a cold face and continued to make unreasonable requests. At this moment, he only wanted to refine the supreme transformation pill as soon as possible and draw a clear line with the Zhou clan. In the future, he would never have any contact with them. Yu Shixiao, because the main ingredient for refining the supreme transformation pill, the nine-tailed dragon sunflower, is too rare. My Zhou clan has only collected one flower in all these years. Therefore, I can only provide one set of ingredients for refining the supreme transformation pill for the time being. Ning, he explained as she took out a storage pouch from her sleeve and handed it to Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran took a deep look at Ning, before turning his head to look at Zhou Zhizhong, who was recuperating. His face revealed a strange smile that was not a smile. After receiving the storage pouch, he strode to the center of the courtyard. Facing Yu Haoran's strange expression, Ning, he suddenly felt a little uncomfortable and lowered her head. However, when she realized that Yu Haoran didn't delve into her relationship with Zhou Zhizhong, Ning, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, she carefully observed his pill refining process. After taking out the pill furnace from the storage ring with his mind, he sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace. He wasn't in a hurry to activate the pill fire of the pill furnace, nor did he immediately use the void pill condensation technique. Yu Haoran first took out all 108 ingredients from a storage pouch and placed them in a fixed position according to the order of refinement. However, when he took out the nine-tailed dragon sunflower from the jade box, his eyes immediately flashed with a trace of light. This was because the nine-tailed dragon sunflower that Ning he provided was not only second rank, third grade, but according to the degree of solidification of the spirit liquid at the fracture, it meant that this nine-tailed dragon sunflower had been harvested for more than 10,000 years. Yu Haoran, it seems that your decision to leave the Twin Bull Mountain and stay away from the limelight was right. Thaling, who also discovered that the nine-tailed dragon sunflower had been harvested for more than 10,000 years, couldn't help but sigh in relief. Although the Zhou clan was the top existence among the second-grade inheritance clans, the inheritance clans that truly ruled the Tianxian land were the first-grade clans with the four guardian divine beasts. Even the Zhou clan was consciously collecting the nine-tailed dragon sunflower, let alone the other inherited clans. If Yu Haoran was able to successfully refine a rank 3, first-grade Supreme Huadan, then the first-grade clan that possessed the nine-tailed dragon sunflower would probably appear at the Twin Ox Mountain in the shortest amount of time possible. Then, through threats and promises, they would force Yu Haoran to help them refine a rank 3, first-grade Supreme Huadan. Placing the nine-tailed dragon sunflower on the empty space to his left, Yu Haoran slowly closed his eyes. As he adjusted his state of mind, he recalled the entire refining process of the Supreme Hua Pill. When everything was ready, Yu Haoran suddenly opened his eyes and used his divine sense to drive the pill furnace's dantian. Then he quickly formed a seal with his 10 fingers and began to use the nihility pill condensation technique. When the pill furnace had successfully opened up an independent space for the dantian fire, one stalk of medicinal herbs after another were thrown into the pill furnace by his divine sense. Finally, they entered the independent space of the pill fire. Gradually, a look of shock and doubt emerged in her big, clear eyes that were as clear as the moon. This was because Ning He realized that Yu Haoran's refining speed was several times faster than other alchemy grandmasters. His refining method was also different from other alchemy grandmasters. Could it be that he wasn't worried about the purity of the medicinal herbs being insufficient and affecting the congealing process? However, when she thought about how Yu Haoran had never failed since he displayed his alchemy Dao ability, the doubt in Ning He's eyes slowly dissipated, leaving behind only shock. Although the nihility pill condensation technique's refining speed was more than 10 times faster than ordinary refining methods, refining 107 types of medicinal herbs in one breath still made Yu Haoran feel a trace of exhaustion. At the same time, as the main ingredient, the nine-tailed dragon sunflower, not only did it contain more energy, but it also contained a trace of the nine-headed snake's remnant consciousness. He needed to be at his peak state to deal with the remnant consciousness counterattack. Taking a deep breath, Yu Haoran used the pills he had prepared in advance to recover the Yuan, Li, and soul power that he had consumed earlier. When his essence, energy, and spirit returned to their peak state, he directly threw the nine-tailed dragon sunflower into the pill furnace and waited for the nine-headed snake's remnant consciousness counterattack. This, accompanied by 9 different snake cries, the phantom of a giant snake with 9 heads emerged from the pill furnace. Seeing that Yu Haoran was planning to refine the culprit that had been guarding the spirit flower, the 9-headed snake phantom roared and rushed down. Ninghe's jade-like hands clenched tightly as she watched the 9-headed snake phantom rushing towards Yu Haoran. She was also guessing his counterattack method. Holding the natal sword tightly in his hand, Lu Yuan was ready to help at any time. Yu Haoran, who was already prepared, raised his head and looked at the 9-headed Hydra phantom charging at him. He immediately activated the ancestral wizard's body and instantly transformed into a 1,000-meter-tall giant. He opened his mouth and sucked at the 9-headed Hydra phantom. The remnant consciousness caused the 9-headed snake phantom's reaction to be slightly slower. Looking at the culprit that had suddenly become even bigger than itself, the 9-headed snake phantom fell into a daze. It was unable to resist the strong suction force in time and was directly swallowed into Yu Haoran's body. The moment the 9-headed snake phantom was forcefully swallowed into Hui Yu Hao's body, it was directly transferred into the victor by Thaling. "Thaling, I'll have to trouble you," Yu Haoran said politely as he restored his original appearance. "Yu Haoran, after I use the victor to refine the 9-headed snake phantom into the purest soul fluid, the weapon spirit of her natal sword will be able to truly awaken its own consciousness," Thaling reminded happily as he used the victor to knock out the 9-headed snake phantom. No rush. Sitting cross-legged in front of the cauldron again, Yu Haoran continued to use the nihility pill condensation technique to refine the 9-tailed dragon sunflower. "After I break through to the martial honorable realm, I will use the 9-headed snake's pure soul fluid to awaken the consciousness of the weapon spirit of my natal sword." "I understand." After thinking for a while, Thaling understood Yu Haoran's idea. After nodding his head, he used the victor to refine the 9-tailed snake phantom while he continued to pay attention to Yu Haoran's pill refinement, ready to provide support at any time. After the 9-tailed dragon sunflower was completely refined into soul fluid, Yu Haoran was not in a hurry to condense the pill. Instead, he carefully observed the purity of the soul fluid in the independent cauldron fire space. He discovered that the 107 spiritual herbs that had been purified at the beginning could be directly condensed into pills. Only the soul fluid of the 9-tailed dragon sunflower needed to be continuously purified, and the purification process needed to be repeated at least 3 times. Regarding this, Yu Haoran, who was already mentally prepared, did not mind at all. He used the purification method of the nihility pill condensation technique to begin the purification process of the 9-tailed dragon sunflower 3 times. Chapter 1139. In the Yuan Pavilion. Thaling's face was gloomy as he looked in the direction of the northern central region through the sea of consciousness. A cold glint flashed in his eyes from time to time. This was because there were 5 martial sovereigns' divine senses on Yu Haoran's body. They were observing his every move during the process of refining the pill. However, when Thaling saw that Yu Haoran was not affected at all, he forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and continued to observe the process of him, using the pill condensation technique to condense the pill. As a supreme Hua pill that had a 50% chance of breaking through to the martial sovereign realm, there were 3 crucial steps in the process of refining the pill using the pill condensation technique. They were also the most likely places to fail. The first crucial step was to refine and purify the 9-tailed dragon sunflower as the main ingredient. The second crucial step was the process of absorbing and storing the energy after the pill was divided. The third crucial step was the lightning tribulation baptism after the pill was formed. Therefore, the process of condensing the pill, which was not a crucial step, not only did it not take up too much of his time, it also did not consume too much of his yuan, li, and soul power. This allowed him to skip the process of nourishing the pill after successfully condensing the pill and start the third step of the pill refinement process, dividing the pill. Yu Haoran, who was immersed in the process of dividing the pill, did not know how much shock his casual process of condensing the pill had brought to Ning He, Zhou Zhizhong, and the big shots who were secretly observing with their divine senses. Looks like the ancestors' decision was correct. Yu Haoran is indeed worth using a marriage alliance to rope him in. Zhou Zhizhong, who had barely managed to eliminate the flaw in his mental state, felt a great impact on his heart when he saw Yu Haoran's entire process of condensing his core. He could not help but glance at Ning as he recalled the instructions of the martial honorable realm ancestor. Zhizhong, although Ning He is your niece, she is also a famous pearl that our Zhou clan has carefully nurtured. Unless her cultivation can break through the Emperor Wu's realm, she can only accept the arrangements of the clan for her life, including her marriage with Yu Haoran. It was precisely because the old ancestor wanted to use the happiness of Ningyi, whom he regarded as his own daughter, to rope in Yu Haoran, who had displayed shocking abilities in the Pill Dao, that his attitude was so rude and cold. Looking at Yu Haoran, who was dividing the pills, Ningyi's eyes gradually flashed with a hint of color. Her red lips, that were covered by the purple veil, slightly raised. Similarly, during the process of dividing the pills, which was not a crucial step, Yu Haoran was able to successfully divide 9 pills. After that, he took a deep breath and consumed 2 pills that could be used to recover his origin energy and soul power. His 10 fingers continued to form seals to increase the energy of the 9 pills, while reminding the Thaling in his sea of consciousness. "Thaling, get ready. Don't worry, I'm ready," Thaling said solemnly as he opened the pill bottle containing the heavenly pure divine water. As the seal was imprinted on the first pill, a strong suction force immediately formed in the pill furnace. The suction force began to gather and absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in Yuan Pavilion. When the seal was imprinted on the second pill, the suction force instantly increased by 10 times, quickly gathering the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the Rydok city. When the seal was imprinted on the third pill, the suction force continued to increase by 10 times, quickly gathering the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the Twin Ox Mountain. As the decision to refine the Supreme Hua pill was too sudden, other than a few peerless martial venerables who knew about the situation beforehand and had been secretly using their divine sense to pay attention, no one in the entire Twin Bull Mountain knew that Yu Haoran, who had returned to the Yuan Pavilion, was refining the third rank, first grade Supreme Hua pill. However, when the third pill exploded with a strong suction force and began to gather the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in the Twin Ox Mountain, it immediately alarmed countless experts in the left and Rydok City. Without needing to check the flow of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, everyone's scattered spiritual qi immediately focused on Yuan Pavilion. Any spiritual qi that dares to enter Yuan Pavilion will be destroyed by me, Zhogu Ningyi. Sensing thousands of spiritual qi frantically rushing into Yuan Pavilion, Ningyi, who was afraid that it would affect Yu Haoran's refining, immediately threatened with a murderous aura. Lu Yuan flew to the sky above Yuan Pavilion and released a sharp sword qi that could tear through the void, directly causing the spiritual qi to retreat. "Everyone, Great Grandmaster Yu is refining pills for my Zhou clan. He cannot be disturbed in the slightest. Therefore, I hope that everyone can give my Zhou clan some face and not let anyone or any spiritual qi enter Yuan Pavilion." Zhou Zhizhong, who was also in the air, seemed to be polite, but his words contained a strong sense of threat. The deal between Yu Haoran and Zhou Zhizhong at the black market auction was not a secret, and most of the people in the Twin Ox Mountain knew about it. Therefore, after hearing Zhou Zhizhong's threat, everyone's subconscious reaction was to directly fly to Yuan Pavilion. This was because according to Zhou Zhizhong's request, as long as people and spiritual qi did not enter Yiyuan Pavilion, they could stand in the air outside Yiyuan Pavilion. This way, they would not go against Zhou Zhizhong's request and would also be able to see the process of Yu Haoran refining the supreme Huazun elixir. When the suction force in the independent space of the elixir field in the elixir furnace increased its power by 10 times and the area of suction reached 1,000 miles, there were already thousands of people standing outside Yiyuan Pavilion. Lu Yuan come back quickly, looking at Lu Yuan, who was still floating in air above Yiyuan Pavilion, and then looking at the thousands of experts and powerhouses. Jianyu immediately used his spiritual qi to remind Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan ignored Jianyu's warning and continued to emit sharp sword qi. Then he directly sat down in the air with his knees bent. When the condensed seal was imprinted on the 9th elixir pill, the suction force increased by 10 times and began to crazily gather the spiritual qi of heaven and earth within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. At the same time, it also alarmed even more powerhouses with high cultivation to rush to Yiyuan Pavilion. When the last seal was successfully imprinted on the last elixir pill after the division, Yu Haoran did not have the slightest intention of relaxing. This was because the process of absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and increasing the internal energy of the elixir pills was related to whether they could successfully withstand the baptism of the lightning tribulation. It was also related to the success or failure of his elixir refining. If he succeeded, he would continue his feat of never failing in refining elixirs. If he failed, it would be an unimaginable blow to his reputation and luck. Therefore, in order to protect his reputation and luck, Yu Haoran not only carefully observed every elixir pill after the division, but also prepared to use the heavenly pure holy water to increase the quality of the elixir pills at any time to help them overcome the lightning tribulation. Pan, accompanied by a crisp shattering sound from the elixir furnace, Yu Haoran's heart immediately tightened. He carefully observed the shattered elixir pill just now. This was the last elixir pill in the division process. The reason for the shattering of the elixir pill was that he did not have enough spiritual qi and soul power during the division process. It was not a mistake during the elixir refining process. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.